Welcome back, boxing fans, to another great show with Sean on Boxing. Obviously, we got a lot of news to talk about and a lot of upcoming fights and much, much more. So stay tuned to after these short commercial break, and we'll get back to you in a second. Welcome back. So, a lot of breaking news has just happened. Obviously, today, Inoue is no longer fighting Sam Goodman, who has a cut and won't be available for their matchup in the next couple of weeks. Excuse me. So, the question is who is going to be his replacement opponent, or if they're going to have one. We'll talk about that later on. In the meantime, we got much, much more to chop up. So, let's get to it. This one. I don't know. Which better? Okay, maybe we'll do this one. So let's chop it up and get to the boxing. Raf's in the house. What's up, my man? Stringer from above. So obviously, one of the main topics we've been talking about recently was the whole Boots Ennis versus Lopez situation. I think this has been talked up enough. Obviously, a lot of people have given their impression. For me, I think it's no different than everyone else. I think obviously a Lopez Ennis fight's a good fight. I'd be excited for it, but at the same time, it's a bad look for Boots Ennis. This is a guy who was just offered a great fight against Virgil Ortiz in the biggest card of 2025 in Saudi Arabia. You walk away from that because you want to chase unification. So if you want to chase unification, people expect you to fight in unification, not pull up a 140-pound fighter to try to do a pay-per-view. And that's the problem. Outside of that, Boots Ennis fighting any of the champions at 147, fighting Ortiz or fighting Lopez, all great fights. I wouldn't be angry or upset about any of them. Obviously, Lopez is a much bigger fight than any of the champions currently at 147. But you said you want to fight unification. So that's what people are going to hold you to. If you don't do that, this whole duck conversation is just going to continue and probably even heat up. But let's see what everyone else is saying. Stringer says, I was so looking forward to seeing the monster back in action. Me too. Bacon and eggs, what's up? Ennis is too big for Tio. Well, in truth, when you look at them, he's not really any bigger than the majority of 147-pound fighters. 5'8" with a 69.5-inch reach. It's very similar to Howard, or not Howard. Why do I always say his name wrong? He's also 5'8", but has a bit of longer reach at 72. So obviously Boots is very big for 147 pounds. The majority of guys, though, they're a similar size to Tio. So there's not that much difference between Tio and most of the other potential guys he could face at that weight. Hit the likes. David says Stanios and Boots is a better fight, even though it's not as big. Yeah, for you and me, obviously that's a great fight and stylistically a far more competitive matchup. But, it's not marketable. Stanionis doesn't have much of a name, hasn't been that active. You could do that fight, but it's not a pay-per-view, right? It's just not a pay-per-view. Sad to say, probably the only guy he could unify at 147 that you potentially could do a pay-per-view with would be Mario Barros. And he's probably the shittiest of the three champions that he could fight. I don't think Boots have ever made 147. He did make 147. He's always made 147. What do you mean? Ennis is really a 154-pounder looking big, and his arms are. Well, obviously at this point, it makes sense that he would move to 154. The same way most guys do. You, as a young kid, obviously it's easy to drain yourself down and make weight, but at a certain point, you're going to have to move up. And that's the question that Boots Ennis brought up, right? He said that he was struggling to make weight, especially with the IBF, right? If it wasn't the IBF, this wouldn't be such an issue. And that's why he probably would prefer to fight a unification fight. Because if Boots fights a unification fight, he doesn't need to do next day weigh-ins, right? According to the IBF. For unification, that doesn't matter. So, that's the onus for him to stay at 147 and fight the other champions. Then he wouldn't have to drain himself so much under the IBF. Tio isn't marketable either, though, if we are being honest. No, David. See, you're missing the whole point. Obviously, Tio on his own can't sell a big fight, but now you throw him in with another name, and the synergy between the two of them is what sells it, right? Because Tio is known. People do know who he is. He's a big talker. People are very familiar with him. I'm looking forward to Madrimov versus Baholchuk. Me too. Me too. I'm kind of disappointed. I mean, obviously, don't get me wrong. I'm excited to see Madrimov versus Ortiz. But if you were going to ask me which fight I would prefer, I probably would have to say that I would have preferred a Baholchuk fight, right? That's just a fight that I was really looking forward to stylistically. It would have been a great matchup. I would have been excited to see Ortiz fight Boots, right? And then the winner of that would have a potential Bud Crawford fight, the fight both of them have been asking for. The both of them want Bud Crawford. Well, Boots, if you want Bud Crawford, this is exactly how you get Bud Crawford. You go to 154, smash fucking Virgil Ortiz's face, and then the natural next fight would be a Crawford Boots fight for, titles at 154 pounds. But IBF has a rehydration clause. They do, but not for unification, right? Lopez has disappointing gaits when he fights in New York. David, you continue to fucking always try to jam stuff down people's throats. Yes, we understand. He isn't a big name on his own. And most of those fights he had in New York, who was he fighting? Nobody. He didn't have other big opponents that he was facing. For him to move up and try to become a three-weight world champion against Boots Ennis, that is ultimately the biggest fight of his career, even bigger than Lomachenko, because obviously before Lomachenko, he was just a prospect with one big victory against Comey. Madrimov Ortiz is nice. It is nice, very nice. Nobody's going to hate on that fight because it's quality. Thank you very much. Hollow Ninja, February 22nd card is stacked. Pay-per-view on top of that is $25. 100% buying that pay-per-view, calling the boys over for kickback, eat, and watch some good boxing. That's what we want. Fights. God bless everyone. Exactly. Merry Christmas. God bless everyone. Yeah, it probably would do well since Philly and New York are closed. I think they would have robbed Baholchuk against Madrimov. Probably. That's a real possibility, right? Because, it just makes more sense. Where's that? Was that number 2 on my slide? Okay. I thought it was my last slide, but nonetheless, the Inoue situation obviously is unfolding, and I made this so quick, I didn't even add the extra pictures to it. Stupid motherfucker. It's because I'm so stoned. Last night, I have to get my gallbladder removed, and it was just killing me last night. And I was hoping that I wouldn't have to get it removed, but the doctor gave me real strong painkillers. Last night, I took 2 of them, and still I'm fucking buzzing. Buzzing. Who is Inoue fighting then? That's what we're not sure about, but I have a few possibilities, and you guys can chime in, tell me which one you think would be a better one, or if there's any other potential fights you would like to see on short notice. This is insane for only $25 and PBC charging $80, actually about $85. So obviously one of the main names people would like to see is probably Casemiro, Jean-Rio Casemiro. He fought a few months ago, I think, so there's plenty of time, but he's kind of a guy that throws on weight, always struggles to make weight, literally missed weight. So he's kind of right now suspended in Japan. But obviously we know Japan is not above allowing a suspended fighter to come back to Japan to fight Inoue so that they can get redemption. So he isn't a potential opponent. Obviously a name that sells, big power. People have really been pushing that fight for a long time. They had a fight already scheduled to happen in Vegas prior to COVID popping off, which canceled the fight. So that would be a very good fight. One that the race-based Americans would love would potentially be Elijah Pierce. The problem is, though, of course, if Inoue knocks out Elijah Pierce, they'd say it's because Elijah Pierce didn't have a full training camp and blah, 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 blah. But at the same time, this is a career opportunity for him. So you either jump at it or fucking never potentially get it. And then, of course, one that hardcores understand the reality behind it is Azit Havisian. 21-5, only stopped once in his career. Tough motherfucker, 17 KOs. Literally was in one of the fights of the year recently in his fight against who? Neri, right? He fought Neri in a fucking back and forth death match. And then recently he got outboxed by Picasso, who is a potential opponent for Inoue down the future. The one thing we can say about Azit, he's in shape. So you know if you call him right now in California, that dude's in the gym, he's fucking 2 weeks to get ready, he will say, sign me up. I'll do it, no problem. Right. So, and he's a quality opponent, been in with great opponents, obviously coming off of back to back losses, but he's a replacement opponent. And in both of those losses, he was super competitive. He is a top fighter at 122 pounds. So I think that's a very realistic sort of potential fight as well. But let me know if you guys, what you guys think regarding that. Where are we? It's got postponed, so probably nobody. Has it got postponed? I thought that they had a replacement opponent from what I've heard. That's insane for only $25. I put $50 on Fury for the win. He's paying 230. Good pick. Is Inoue fighting? Then Casemiro would be nice. He would be. I would love to see Inoue sleep Casemiro so all those Filipino haters could eat their words. Is Inoue fighting that where if Inoue fight versus Nakatani still on the docket for next year? Apparently that's the plan. And the way that Bob Arum was talking about Inoue going to fight in Vegas early on in 2025 is exactly what Bob Arum laid out last year, that they would fight on a doubleheader in the States, which would obviously lead to the huge fight in the Tokyo Dome. The guy MJ is fighting tomorrow seems kind of like a sleeper, doesn't he? Good KO record. Yeah, but who has he fought, right? I prefer Nakatani versus Bam. Yeah, but Bam's been ducking fucking Nakatani for years. He just ain't interested in taking that smoke. Casemiro just missed 122 pounds just a month ago, and you think he can make it this time? He is probably about 140 this date. Yeah, well, that's what I say. You know, with him, he always balloons up in weight. He misses weights all the time. He's currently suspended in Japan. But he's the kind of opponent that the Japanese boxing commission would probably say, okay, just like Luis Neri. Charles Conwell is fighting tomorrow. The opponent is lousy. It is lousy, but hey, let's not hate on Charles. You know, the reason he's fighting lousy opponents is because none of the real opponents want to take a chance versus him. So it's good. At least he's getting paid and he's staying busy. Hopefully in 2025, we can get him into a real fight. Hello Ninja, thank you very much. Shout out for Turkey for the $25 pay-per-view for Bivol and Better BF2. Tank versus Roach can eat dust. Not paying $85 for that garbage. Streaming that event. Yeah, it's funny because on social media you have that one guy, I can't remember his name, who's just constantly clout chasing and saying terrible takes on Twitter. He's become kind of a Twitter legend. He's acting as if that Tank Davis fight card is better than the Turkey Saudi Arabian February 22nd card. And it's like, dude, you can talk shit, but all we have to do is wait to see who ends up watching which fight card. And that will tell you everything. And then the excuse will be, well, it's because they only charge $25 for that one. Well, whose fault is that? He is decent, the MJ opponent. I don't think MJ would lose to Tabales. Didn't Conwell turn down a fight against Boots? I don't know if that's true or not. Because Conwell's a 154-pound fighter. Was Boots going to go up to 154 to fight him? Or were they trying to pull Conwell down to fucking 147? Because then it would be, well, what? Why would I go to 147? Conwell's been a career 154-pound fighter. I don't think Conwell would beat John Boots Ennis. But think about Karen and what a tough fight he gave Boots Ennis. You don't think Charles could do just as well, if not better? And obviously he's a much harder puncher than Karen. So I mean, that's a fight that I don't think fucking Boots Ennis wants. Not at all. How will Ryan Garcia do against Anpo? I have no idea. I don't care. He's fighting a kickboxer who's much bigger than him. He obviously should beat him, but we will see. Ample surprised people. He gave Pacquiao a very good fight, but that is a 97-year-old Pacquiao. Conwell is underrated, very underrated. I think he would beat Ennis. I said, yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think Ennis has the tools to beat Charles because he's going to be much longer. He can control Charles behind the jab and walk him into the backhand. But it would have to be a 154-pound version of Boots where he looks like he once looked, not like he's looked recently, because the way he's fought recently has been very disappointing. And I'm a Boots fan, right? So I ain't trying to hate on him at all. Not at all. But yeah, those are the three potential opponents I thought. As you say, maybe the fight date will be canceled and they will move it. That would be obviously disappointing. I know my boy True School is going to be bitter because he's in Japan right now and he's looking forward to seeing that fight. And this would be the second time he's traveled to Japan and didn't get to watch Inoue's fights. So he's jinxed, man. He's jinxed. I know today is Friday the 13th, where you guys are. It was Friday the 13th yesterday here in Taiwan. So maybe he just got that Friday the 13th bad luck. So here we go. This is just looking at those two cards that we were just talking about. Obviously, if you just look at Ortiz versus Madrimov, Stevenson versus Schofield, compared to the other fights on this card, I mean, then you can compare it. But the February 22nd card has way more than these two American cards, right? That's the thing that makes this card so much bigger. For American-based fans, maybe the Tank Davis card would be bigger because they're so sort of enamored with just everything America and not too focused on the overall card, right? And they don't maybe not so familiar with some of the other fighters on the card, like Dubois and many others. So then you look at this card, you can think, okay, it's not so bad. Even though to me, the Ortiz-Madrimov fight is literally better than any fight on the Tank Davis card. At least this is not the final card, but this is what they're talking about. Valenzuela versus Russell, that's a good fight. But I don't think it's better than Madrimov and Ortiz. It's also, I don't think, as significant because Valenzuela is a champion, but nobody really fucking considers him a champion, right? He's come from the same ranking system that had Rolly Romero their champion, and then Cruz, and now him. All those guys are 135-pound fighters. Then you got Puello versus Sandor Martin, literally a fight nobody fucking would have paid for because it potentially is the most boring fight fucking ever made. Then Stanionis versus Shakram Griziov. We all like Stanionis, but Shakram is not an exciting fighter. So it could be a very boring fight as well. So there you got two very boring fights. Tank Davis in a one-sided showcase fight, really, against Lamont Roach. And then Rayo versus Gary Russell. And if we're all being serious, Gary Russell should fucking smash Rayo because Gary Russell is better than De Los Santos, right? He's just a better overall fighter, skill-wise, than De Los Santos is. And he's also just as hard of a puncher. So he should fucking destroy Rayo. It's a tough fight. I'm surprised that Rayo actually took this fight because it seems too difficult for what it is, right? Where are we? Turkey is doing great for boxing. Great. Turkey is biased. Biased how? What's the bias? Turkey is a boxing fan, so of course he has fights he wants to see, but that's not biased. That's just preference. Russell's coming off of a loss, but it's still a good fight. Who do you favor? Russell. Yeah, boring fights. Puello Martin is interesting tactically. Oh, I don't think fucking I'll be able to stay awake for 12 rounds of that fight. You think Gary is better than De Los Santos? I don't know, man. Come on. What the fuck has De Los Santos done outside of beating Ryo? I'm not high on Gary as I used to be. De Los Santos is better than Gary, dude. No, he's not. Gary fucking is a way better amateur than De Los Santos. Way better wins. Actually beat fucking Boots Ennis 3 times in the amateurs and was one of the dominant fighters at 140 pounds until he got beat recently. And sure, getting beat doesn't look good, but everyone has a slip. The biggest problem Russell has is the same thing with his brother. They're just too fucking inactive. They don't fight enough. And potentially that's probably the biggest hurdle for him. He's also not big for the weight either. Russell doesn't have a good jab. He doesn't have a good jab, or he doesn't have a very good reach. Because we know those Russells, they're kind of like T-Rexes with their reaches. So even if you have a good jab, you still wouldn't utilize it that much because it's going to be harder to land against longer fighters. His flaws were exposed against Puello. Puello is an awkward fucking fighter. Very, very long. So I wouldn't say you should base everything on one fight. That's the problem with boxing fans. They're so fickle and so quick to judge based off of one fight, right? One fight, right? That's it. What do you think would happen in the rematch? I think Russell would win the rematch. But, Russell has only himself to blame. He's walked away from fights. He hasn't been active. He's continued to tie himself with the PBC, right? So, it is what it is. I think Valenzuela is going to beat him. Turkey tried to buy BoxRec, but denied, made his own platform. He put Canelo at like number 30th in the world. That's biased. I don't even know. What did he buy that's not BoxRec? He should have bought BoxRec. I'm surprised BoxRec didn't sell them. And did he put Canelo at 30th? I guess it depends on how they determine it, because BoxRec is done by a computer. We all know their rankings are terrible and shit. We don't really go to BoxRec to base anything on their rankings. So, let's think, where do they have Canelo right now? BoxRec. I mean, when you look at their pound for pound list, Canelo's number 2. That's probably why you're excited. But then you have fighters like fucking Benavidez at number 8. John Ennis at number 10. He's never won a world title. Postal was washed. That's true. Alexander Usyk is 14th. Alexander Usyk, who on every single pound for pound list in the world is top 3 on BoxRec, he's 14th. I think I like Gary Russell, but he hasn't beaten anyone. Yeah, okay, but you could say that about the majority of fighters in boxing today who haven't really beaten anyone. And if you want to say somebody was washed, I mean, come on. People weren't shitting on Postal as an opponent for the people who fought him prior to that. It's kind of like saying, Jaime Munguia beat Derevchenko, but Derevchenko was washed. Well, you didn't say that when he fought fucking, what's his face? The guy, Dominican kid who's fighting Hamza Shiraz. Him, Adames, or Charlo, or Golovkin, or Jacobs, right? Like, Postal is obviously old, 37 years old when they fought, but he's still a skilled fighter who's a real diligent, in the gym type of dude. He's not a guy who blows up in weight. He's not a guy who's taken a lot of punishment in his career. He's not an aggressive fighter that comes in face first. He's a boxer who uses his feet and his jab to win fights. So even as an older fighter, you can still do a good job stylistically with what he had. Obviously, he's no longer what he once was, but yes, that's fair. And nobody was saying, holy moly, Gary Russell beat Postal, he's pound for pound top 10. Look at what Elvis Rodriguez did to Postal, and Elvis was looking like garbage in his past couple of fights. Well, actually, his past couple fights, people were praising him for coming back. My local betting agency has Canelo versus Crawford, December 2025. Canelo was paying something like 1.6. Crawford was paying around 2.9. We'll be talking about that as well. Here's some hot takes. I saw these and I just thought I wanted to highlight them just because it's always amazing the things people say. So, first, you have this, right? Obviously, uh, you know, undefeated Floyd Mayweather, never knocked down. Roy Jones, 10 losses, was knocked down 5 times or knocked out 5 times. And people are trying to act like, based on this, Roy Jones is not in the conversation for the best fighter during his era in boxing. Whereas for me, this was an easy pick. I always had Floyd Mayweather below Roy Jones. The biggest problem Roy Jones had, and everyone who's being fair in boxing knows that when he came down from heavyweight, his legs were shot. He was never the same fighter again. And then he just continued to fight well past his best, taking on many losses at far bigger weights, right? But when you look at his period of time when he went up to heavyweight, and prior to that, his one loss was bullshit. It shouldn't be a loss. He fucking was the most dynamic fighter in boxing, way more skilled than Floyd Mayweather. Consistently was considered pound for pound number one when Floyd Mayweather was just lower on the pound for pound list. Far more exciting, right? And has some really quality prime victories against guys. Prime. Not when dudes are past their best, coming off of losses, no longer at their best, pulling them up in weight, but literally prime victories against guys that were pound for pound at the time when he fought them. And of course, you could feel that Floyd is better, and that's fine. I don't mind. But it's just when you try to use these kind of numbers as a way to hype up Floyd as if 50-0, one of which was against a novice, is more significant. And then trying to downplay Roy Jones because, well, Roy Jones got knocked out 5 times. Roy Jones fucking became heavyweight world champion of the world. He literally took on real risks, right? Floyd Mayweather could have went to 160 and did something historic, but he chose not to fight Sergio Martinez. He allowed Cotto to do that. And what happened? Cotto went out there and fucking kicked his ass and became a middleweight champion, right? But if you're a Floyd Mayweather fan, that's cool. I'm not anti people who like Floyd. It's just the fact that some people try to jam down your throat as if there's only one correct answer, and the answer is their answer, right? People cannot have a different of opinion. JB is the worst for that, right? He talks about how, everyone should be allowed to support their own fighters, but yet he doesn't want other people to support their own. He just wants it all his way, right? And that's the problem with these kind of people. Democrats, right? They always want it their way. They don't want to listen to anyone else. They have no room for flexibility at all. But let's move through. I'm glad Turkey is trying to make Canelo Crawford, but since Canelo denied him at the moment, Turkey said bullshit things about Canelo, is scared, etc. Yeah, gaming TV. Come on, don't be too much of a Canelo fanboy. You need to defend him. Canelo's his own man. He does what he wants to do, and so is Turkey. So there's going to be a bit of fucking conflict between two strong-minded individuals that want to have things their own way. But that's fine. They're going to eventually come to a common ground, or they won't. The only person that's going to lose out in that situation is potentially Crawford, not Canelo and not Turkey. So, Roy Jones never fought a guy with 9 losses and charged us pay-per-view for it. That's true too. And he also never fought a guy who was a fucking MMA guy making his boxing debut to break a historical heavyweight record. Canelo's too big. Prefer if Bud unifies at 154. Me too. I would prefer if Bud fought the other champions at 154, Ortiz, depending on what goes on with that. It would be nice if Bud would have got that WBO title. Then maybe it would have been easier for Ortiz to then fight him, right, for unified titles. And then if he beat Bud, then he could chase after Funduro Spence winner. But The problem with boxing is there's so much maneuvering, right? And the one good thing about Turkey, he's kind of taken away the maneuvering. You see currently what's going on between obviously Eddie Hearn and Frank Warren. Now they're going to be obviously both working under DAZN, and they're going to work smoothly in conjunction with each other, so they're going to help their cards be more magnified as opposed to compete against one another. So they will pick different weeks so that the cards are stacked. So on DAZN you have boxing all the time, and you don't have to worry about having boxing on the same day competing against each other. And that's smart. De La Hoya should do the same thing with Golden Boy, and then literally you'd have a DAZN fight card every single weekend, right? And if Top Rank goes over, like there's speculation about them doing it, you're going to have boxing every weekend for the whole fucking year on DAZN. I mean, as a boxing fan, what could be better than fucking that? The PBC joining as well, but I'm not holding my breath. Canelo versus Crawford is a waste. All of it is Crawford begging Daddy Turk to get him a payday. Well, come on. You got to be fair. Right now, if you talk about the two biggest names of this generation, it's Canelo Alvarez and Terence Crawford. And if you had the possibility of making a fight between the two biggest names of this generation, why wouldn't you do it? Right? We've always had smaller fighters move up and take on challenges. Leonard moved up and took on Hagler. You had Marling Starling move up to take on Michael Nunn, right? This is normal. You had Hammer and Hank Armstrong move up to take on Sugar Ray Robinson. So you have Terence Crawford move up to take on Canelo Alvarez, right? Regardless of who wins or loses, I mean, it's one of those historical fights that really has some legacy behind it, right? If Canelo wins, it's not going to take away from Crawford. If Crawford wins, I mean, haters will use it to take away from Canelo, but the reality is what Canelo's done. A loss to Bud Crawford doesn't take that away. It's not a fight that I'm pushing for, but at the same time, I get it. They were throwing Jose Petraza in there with Tito Mercado. What a shame. I don't know. Who is Tito Mercado? I like this one too. AI. And if you guys been watching AI and just AI, what they're using the computers now just to run down data and figure things out, they talked about 10 of the most overrated boxers in history. And at number 2, unfortunately, they don't tell us who number 1 is on Twitter, was Deontay Wilder, one of the most overrated boxers in history. Deontay Wilder. Who's fucking surprised? I'm not surprised. Deontay Wilder's best victory is versus a 50-year-old Luis fucking Ortiz, a guy who was never an Olympic medalist, was never a world champion. Then you got Ricky Hatton at number 4, also not a surprise. I always felt Ricky Hatton was well overrated, as many UK boxers constantly are. Carl Froch is another example of an overrated UK fighter. You can also say that if you're American, that AJ was overrated. Victor Ortiz, I don't know if he was overrated. Not really. Zab Judah, overrated. At one point, Zab Judah was side by side with Floyd Mayweather, right? As far as what people were saying regarding them. And Butterbean being overrated, I don't know if that's true, because I don't know if anybody ever rated Butterbean. He was a sideshow and was successful because of that. But outside of that, I mean, whoever rated him? I don't think anyone rated him, but okay. Zab is good. Yeah, being good doesn't mean you're not overrated, right? You can be good and still be overrated. Sam Noakes is underrated, I think, though. At this point, he seems underrated for sure. But potentially, I was making comparisons on my live talking about him, comparing him to Ricky Hatton, right? A lot of similarities I see between the two of them. So maybe at some point in the future, he potentially could be overrated. But think about Ricky Hatton and Sam Noakes, where they are at this point of their careers. When Ricky Hatton was at the same point Sam Noakes was on, he was all over Ring Magazine, talked about as one of the best up and coming fighters in boxing today. I mean, some people are saying that about Sam Noakes, but not to the same extent. Obviously, Ring Magazine is just starting to publish again, so maybe he will be there and it'll be even better comparison. Welter undisputed at a time it was rare. Raf, oh, you're talking Zab. Sure, but in the process, who did he beat to become undisputed at welterweight at that time? Because there's always ebbs and flows in divisions, right? And was that the 4 belt era or 3 belt era when he was that? Then he ended up losing to a guy that was not really that good. He fought last weekend. Sam Noakes, are you saying? But yeah, I thought it was funny that Deontay Wilder is considered number 2 most overrated of all time. Some up and coming events. Obviously, these make sense. Just released this week that Dennis Branchek will be defending his WBO title versus Keyshawn Davis February 14th in New York. This is great. This is exactly what I said all along. When people were jamming that whole Tank Davis, Keyshawn Davis narrative down people's throats going, why is he deserving of a Tank Davis fight? Nobody was saying he was going to get a Tank Davis fight next. What people were saying is that it's most likely that he's going to be fighting Baranchek and he's going to become a WBO champion, which means a unification fight between him and Tank Davis potentially could be a real thing. And when it's a unification fight, it is a fight worth talking about, just like Loma and Shakur. And if Keyshawn beats Baranchek, him. Those are the 3 unification fights Tank Davis has at 135. All great fights. All far better than fucking Lamont Roach. All far better than Lamont Roach. Even Keyshawn Davis at this point, without even a world title, better than fucking Lamont Roach. I don't think there's many people in the boxing world today that wouldn't fucking have Keyshawn Davis beating Lamont Roach if he was fighting him, instead of Tank Davis fighting him. People would all say Keyshawn is cherry picking a 130-pound fighter, and he's easily going to beat fucking Lamont Roach. That's what they would say because we've already seen Lamont Roach get beat by fucking an old Jamal Herring. So we know fucking Keyshawn is better than that. Better. The fight between Branchek and Keyshawn, great fight. Branchek, underrated fighter. Obviously, everyone felt that Navarrete was going to beat him, become a 4-weight world champion. That shit did not turn out the way people expected. Branchek ended up beating him to claim that title. Now we have 2 Ukrainian champions at 135. This is the fight I was hoping for. The question some people should ask is, why isn't William Zepeda the guy getting a Dennis Branchek fight? William Zepeda was ranked number 1 by the WBO. How did he fucking drop that ball? Or better yet, how did Oscar De La Hoya drop that ball? Why didn't Oscar De La Hoya force the WBO to make a Zepeda Branchek fight? If Zepeda ended up winning a world title versus Branchek, he would have far more leverage moving forward, right? But this is one of those stupid moves that you got to ask yourself, what the fuck are these people thinking? Hollow Ninja, thank you very much. Terrence Crawford will become a 3-time undisputed, and they will still hate on him. I really don't get these clowns, man. That's an amazing accomplishment, bro. It is. And that's one of the reasons why I was hoping he would do that. Obviously, beating Canelo is legacy and historic, and in truth, may be more significant than being a 3-weight undisputed champion. But if you lose, then it's not. But becoming 3-weight undisputed, that's potentially something nobody in boxing history will ever accomplish, strictly because of the politics of boxing. But I'm sure if Turkey has his way, there's eventually just going to be the WBC title and the Ring Magazine title and no more, which I would be okay with. I thought Navarrete did near him. I don't remember who Machado is. It's still a good fight for Keyshawn, though. It is. Clarissa Shields' biopic movie is a bad look. It's hard to be inspired by someone who's a terrible person. Well, Who gives a shit about her? This is like her once again thinking that people care about her. No one's going to watch that movie because no one fucking cares. She's not an interesting fucking person, and she hasn't done enough in her career at this point where there's even interest. A Katie Taylor biopic movie would be far more interesting because literally she's come through things, right? What has Clarissa Shields come through? I don't know. I would never watch a movie about Clarissa Shields. Not me, me neither. Not fucking at all. And then, of course, you have this WBC. Mauricio Suleiman and Turki Al Shika unveiled the WBC Grand Prize of Boxing tournament. So they're trying to do a big tournament, which, of course, we've heard about prior to this. That's great news. I think the negative is if I'm not sure about the specifics, anyone can correct me in the comment section below, but they're not going to do all the divisions of boxing. They're going to cherry pick a few. So it's going to be kind of like the World Boxing Super Series tournament, but obviously far deeper in certain divisions, which, I mean, if you have a division that has a lot of really good depth, that's going to be a very interesting scenario. But, you know, obviously the biggest problem is the big name fighters. They don't really need this tournament. It's mostly low-level guys who need an opportunity to build themselves up, get showcased, and get good wins under the title, which is great because that's exactly what boxing needs. You need to make sure you continue to develop these lower-ranked fighters, give them opportunities to highlight themselves, and potentially move into stardom themselves. And then when they become name opponents, then when these top guys are scheduled to fight them in unification fights or mandatories, at least now the public is familiar with them and people will be excited to see them actually step up against the top guys in boxing. Whereas now you got like the IBF jamming these unknown people fucking into the mandatories, and literally nobody knows who these fucking guys are. So no one's excited about it. None of the promoters want to pay for it because, you know, they know it's not marketable. It's not going to sell. So, you know, it's kind of this situation where, you know, you're not really helping boxing because you're not letting these fighters develop naturally. And you have to blame the sanctioning bodies because they don't force these dudes to fight each other on their buildup, right? William Skull fought one fucking guy, and based on that, he became the IBF mandatory. One fucking guy. My expectation is you got to beat at least 3, potentially 4 guys on the top 15 list before you become the mandatory. At least 3. Or if it's 2, it's fucking 2 of the highest guys right at the top, right? You got to do something significantly to earn the opportunity to become a mandatory, not just fucking have your promoter pay off the sanctioning body. But, you know, that's me. You may feel different. Her story is not inspiring whatsoever. Not whatsoever. I was in Bradley's live and I mentioned the fight with Stevie Nelson and Pacheco. He seemed excited about it and called Nelson sneaky good, even though Nelson's like, 35 years old right now. He does have good power. And with you being a Crawford fan, you should know that Bomac fighters aren't hoes. I think Pacheco will beat him, though. Me too. He's just a far better fighter, right? In his prime, 24 years old versus 35. I can't wait for next Saturday. I don't think Tank will ever fight Shakur or Haney, unfortunately. Yeah, me neither. I had something I was going to say, and now I fucking lost my train of thought. Oh, Tim Bradley. Tim Bradley was asked in an interview who had the better resume, Devin Haney or Tank Davis. What do you guys think? Leave it in the comment section below. Who has the better resume, Tank Davis or Devin Haney? After you guys leave the comment, then I will give my opinion. But, you know, this is Tim Bradley giving this take, this hot take on that comment. And it just shows you, even though these guys have broadcasting jobs, you know, it doesn't mean they necessarily know really as much as we do as far as boxing, because I don't think they necessarily study the sport as much as we do. If you want to talk about the technicalities of boxing itself, okay. Obviously, they're professional fighters, so they do understand that more than we do. But as far as understanding the sport, the fighters involved, and everything else, I don't think so. Jazz says Haney. David says, I'll say Tank, but they're both garbage. Gaming TV says Haney. David, I think you're being biased. I don't think there's any way you could say Tank Davis has a better resume than Devin Haney. Tank overall has never fought a fighter as good as Loma. Exactly. Devin Haney's best win, Vasily Lomachenko, is far better than any other win on Tank Davis's resume. One of Tank Davis's 3 best wins is fucking who? Petraza, who Lomachenko schooled and almost knocked out as well. Leo Santa Cruz, fucking Loma would have killed him. Leo literally ducked a unification fight with Lomachenko. And then Mario Barros, fuck, you okay. I mean, the only thing you could say about him is that he's tall and big. But nobody thinks that that guy would have beat Regis Prograis, right? Nobody. That's why that fight was never talked about. Because no one put Mario Barros in the same fucking level. The same level as fucking Regis Prograis. Haney couldn't stop Gamboa. Yeah, and Tank Davis barely stopped Gamboa. The one thing Haney did do is he won easily, clearly against Gamboa, whereas Tank Davis looked like he was struggling with him early on in that fight. And that was a garbage opponent anyway, but it's an opponent both of them have. So that doesn't make your argument better. They both fought him. They both beat him. Not really a win, though. What's not really a win? Loma, it's a win. Yes, I get you. I don't think he beat him, but that's not the point. The point is, who has a better resume, right? I thought Tank lost to Pitbull Cruz like Haney lost to Lomachenko, but they didn't. Neither did. But in saying that, Lomachenko, Pitbull Cruz, who's better? It ain't fucking close. It ain't close. Pitbull was never fucking anything, and that was just exposed by fucking Ryo recently. It's really close, to be honest. How's it really close? You tell me the 3 best wins Tank Davis has on his resume. Go. Yes, Lomachenko is better than Cruz. Way better. It's not even competitive. But you tell me the 3 best wins. You're going to say who? Petraza? Gamboa? Frank Martin? Salute, Sean. Hit the likes. What's up, Nick? Hajo Bujen. Long time no see. So, Nick, who has the better resume? Tank Davis or Devin Haney, in your opinion? I'm drinking cranberry juice, trying to help my gallbladder. Has anyone had their gallbladder removed? Tell me about it. In Taiwan, fuck, man. Instead of just doing it in one day, they want to keep me in the hospital for 4 days for a minor procedure. What a pain in my ass. Blood boxing has the audacity that Frank Martins would dominate Loma. Sure he would, even though he never beat a top 10 fighter. See, that's the whole thing. I like Frank Martin. I think he's good. And now he's moving to 140. So that's good. He's a good addition to that division. But he never beat a top 10 fucking opponent. How are you going to say a guy that never beat a top 10 opponent is going to beat Vasily Lomachenko? Where, as Davis hurt his hand against Cruz. Easy, Devin Haney by far. Tank's resume is trash. Exactly. See, like David, you talking about hurting his hand, I don't even know what that has to do with the whole conversation. It's crazy they put Tank in some bracket as Canelo is cherry picking. I know. I do somewhat rate Tank's win over Martin. Sure, I think Martin is good, but let's be honest. He never beat a top 10 fucking 135 pounder. You're fighting a guy who never beat a top 10 guy. So how much credit can we give you based on just the eye test? Because that's what we gave Frank Martin as, the eye test. Even though his previous fight versus fucking an unknown German, he looked like crap against that guy. So, and then we saw Shakur beat that guy as well. Fighters hurt their hands all the time. I got to give Tank that excuse. And also, Haney lost to Ryan Garcia. I forgot all about that. But he didn't lose. That fight doesn't exist. So you're going to say, okay, so Ryan Garcia at 140 pounds or a drained Ryan Garcia, that's comparable. That's the same fighter. You tell me they're the same fighter. Because if you saw them on fight day, you could see clearly Ryan Garcia was fucking drained like crazy. Against Devin Haney, he was anything but drained. He was anything but fucking drained. He was waterlogged. That dude fucking came in well over the weight. So there was no drainage at all in that fight. He was well above the weight. Like I said, their resumes are both garbage. But Devin Haney's not. Devin Haney gets a lot of criticism, specifically because you got guys like JB who try to make him into a pound for pound top 2 fighter, right? But, is Devin Haney the hardest puncher or the best fighter in the world? No. But resume, okay. So Prograis, right? Prograis, who's a unified 140-pound champion. Oh, no, he wasn't unified, sorry. Prograis, 2-time 140-pound champion. Lomachenko. Kambosos is a champion. He was a unified champion. Joe Diaz obviously was a world champion. Jorge Linares was a world champion. Gamboa was a world champion. Alfredo Santiago, not a bad win. Zaur Abdurev, not a bad win. Zolani and Dengde, not a bad win. Juan Carlos Burgos, not a bad win. So you go back even early in his career, all the way back to 2018. He was fighting all quality opponents. And then he went on to fight 6 world champions, right? If we look at Tank Davis, outside of pulling guys up in weight constantly, his best wins are what? He's also older by like 3 years, 4 years older. So he beat Petraza in 2017, so 1 year before Devin Haney was relevant. Then he faced Cuellar, who he pulled up in weight, coming off of a loss to Mares. Ruiz, Nunez, nothing to be excited about. Then Gamboa, a guy who wasn't relevant since he lost to Bud Crawford. Santa Cruz, who he pulled up in weight in his 4th weight division. Mario Barros, he went up in weight and fought him. That fight looks good now, right? In truth. So Petraza, Mario Barros look like good wins. Isaac Cruz went on to do well. Looks like a good win. Romero, garbage. Hector Luis Garcia pulled him up in weight. Ryan Garcia drained his ass like crazy. Frank Martin, a good win, right? 4 good wins, but no great wins. No great opponents. But I don't rate Haney's win over Lomachenko at all. He lost the fight by a landslide. I forgot about Correas. He didn't lose by a landslide. Come on. Now you're just twisting reality. Sean, you think JB uses a filter when he uploads a pic of his community post because he looked way different when he joined the IBFP stream? I don't think John would do that because I don't think that's his focus. But you mean big or just different face? I don't know. He doesn't really post his face too much, so who knows? I think that both their careers are over. Tank is going to end up with a better resume if Tank doesn't retire early. Devin Haney still has 3 years on Tank Davis. In 3 years, his resume could be significantly better than where Tank Davis's resume is right now. I hope Loma doesn't retire. If he fights again, who do you want to see him fight, Sean? I'd be happy to see Loma fight anybody. But if Keyshawn Davis does win against Baranchek, potentially a unification fight between Keyshawn Davis and Lomachenko makes the most sense, right? Obviously, that would be a bit of a grudge match, defending his countrymen getting beat, but also they're both ESPN fighters. So that would be an easy fight to make. Bob Arum and ESPN would be cool with making that fight as well, to have then potentially if Keyshawn Davis could beat Lomachenko. He's got that significant win on his resume. And Bob and Top Rank would prefer if Lomachenko got beat, it was to one of their fighters as opposed to a Tank Davis, right? So Hector Garcia ain't shit to me. I honestly don't know if Haney would beat Lamont Roche. I'm being serious too. Fuck off. Come on, man, David. You don't believe that shit at all. He would fucking destroy Lamont Roche, just like he would fucking destroy Jamal Herring. No doubt. I mean, just like he would destroy the guy fucking Lamont Roche just fought on fucking, what was it? Fuck. What's that called? I can't even think what it is. On YouTube. Paulie Malignaggi and the boys. But whoever he fought on that network, I can't remember what his name is. Tio versus Tank is the fight that should be made. That's the fight I would like. It's a good fight. Obviously, Tio is bigger than Tank, but not that much bigger. I think that's a 50-59 fight. 50-59 or 50-49? 50-50. Lamont Roche is a good fighter. I just would have liked to see what he would do against Oshaki, Navarrete, Valdez, Ford, Nunez. Well, he's ducking his WBO mandatory. The Olympic fucking medalist who would beat his fucking ass. Even though John doesn't know what the guy's name is. But if that guy does become a champion, John will be fucking hating on him too. I can't stand Tank, though. I like Tank. My disappointment with him is that he hasn't fucking fought anybody that I can get excited about. Ryan beat up Haney, pretend it was a street fight with blocks and gloves. Well, to be fair, I had that fight very competitive at the end because every round that Devin Haney didn't get dropped, he outboxed Ryan Garcia. I don't know who you mean. I can't pronounce his name. WBA 130-pound regular champion. Albert Batagayev. Really, he should be 13-0. But they don't put those fight cards from the Japanese boxing commission on BoxRec. Where are we? The Olympian, yes. I'm high on 130. Japanese guy? No, but I also like the Japanese guy too, Tsutsumi. Him, Albert. He is currently, I think, the WBA regular champion. And if you go here, IBA pro fights. These are two guys he beat recently for the IBA. So he beat the guy he beat in the Olympics, Cuban fighter Lazaro Alvarez. And then he just recently beat Albert Pagara, stopping him in 5. The same Albert Pagara who Kermel Moten is going to fight. And if Moten beats him, people are going to be like, oh, yeah, pound for pound. Even though he's coming off of a loss where he got stopped in 5 rounds by Albert. Yes, he looks familiar. That's why I don't know why people hate Hype Yo 126. Why they hype up 126? 126 is good. It's got a lot of fighters. The problem is it just doesn't have one great fighter, right? Espinoza looks like he could be, but Espinoza is probably going to move to 130 pounds, which would be great. Makes 130 pounds that much better. How can you call yourself a tank when you only fight bums? You can still be a tank. You're just a one-dimensional tank, slow to maneuver, but with big guns. But let's move forward to some next topics of discussion. So I saw this on social media, this picture here of the PBC boys all rocking. Tank, the Charlos, Broner, and Spence, and Zab Judah. And I thought, this is really should be captioned, the wasted generation, right? Because we know Zab Judah, obviously, was a wasted generation. Yes, he was unified, but had an opportunity to beat Floyd and do things afterwards, right? His mentality was all wrong. Too angry, and because of that, he cost himself. Then Broner, who was fucking a fat slob, never motivated enough, the next Floyd Mayweather. What's the best win on his resume? Every elite fighter he fought, he got beat by, right? And then, of course, you have Spence, who was hyped up. I'm sure at this point right now in his career, JB would say that Spence is fucking a future Hall of Famer. Roman Gonzalez isn't. Lomachenko isn't. Golovkin's not. But Errol Spence is a future Hall of Famer, according to guys like them. Yet, what's the best win on his resume? Sean Porter. And Sean Porter's a good win, but Sean Porter was never a great fighter. He was a good fighter who lost every single time he tried to unify or defend his title. Right? And then you have the two Charlos. One who literally didn't do anything at 154, moved to 160, spent his whole time at 160 and literally didn't fucking step up at all. And now basically has just wasted his career. The other Charlo who took how many fights? The guy that took the most fights to become undisputed, Charlo, right? Lost twice in the process, right? But because his promoter controlled the division, he still got the opportunity to become undisputed, even though he ducked his mandatory, Murtazalayev, who now looks like a good reason why he did duck him, because who knows how that fight would have worked out, right? Now that we saw Murtazalayev as a killer. And then, of course, you got Tank Davis, who I like. Out of all of these guys, Tank Davis is the guy I like by and far. And I liked Zab Judah. Unlike Floyd, Zab Judah was fun to watch, a good boxer, puncher. But Tank Davis has never fucking fought unification fights. Charlo did. Zab did. Spence did. Broner didn't. Charlo didn't. Right? And Tank hasn't. So this is really the wasted generation. The wasted generation. PBC. A lot of talent, but fucking they just wasted their careers. Really, that's all you can say. How can you call yourself a tank? Oh, Tank's resume is garbage, but he's got no shame. That's true. 130 is way better. I had Garcia beating Porter. How do you think Roach would do against the guy I mentioned? It's fair to debate. I think Navarrete would beat him. Oshaki probably would too, but it's fair to say that he would have a chance. How do you think Roach would do against the guy I mentioned? Who did you mention? Spence belongs in the DWI Hall of Fame. Now Porter 184. It's still bullshit that Tank is dragging another guy up constantly, right? And the reality is, it's ironic because remember the one time Lomachenko, as a replacement opponent, brought up Mariaga, right, from 126. He was supposed to fight Salido to finally do what the haters were saying he didn't do, which was try to redeem his only loss by beating Salido, who'd already beat him. When they came to terms, agreed to the contract, had the date, Salido ended up walking away from the fight. So then they needed a replacement opponent for that date. Mariaga was a top-ranked fighter, always in shape. He was the replacement. Do you remember how much hate Lomachenko got for pulling that guy up in weight? JB still talks about Mariaga fight, right? He still mentions that, right? And the irony is the same guys who hated Lomachenko for pulling up Mariaga defend Tank Davis for consistently pulling guys up, right? Cuellar, Ruiz, Garcia, now fucking, of course, Lamont Roach. That's 4 guys, and I'm sure there's even more. But that's like 4. And they will say, what about Rigo? But the same guys that shit on Lomachenko for pulling up Rigo are the ones that tried to jam Rigo's name down Lomachenko's throat. Lomachenko wasn't calling out Rigo. He wasn't mentioning him. What he wanted was what? Tank fucking Davis. Right? But these guys are just delusional. Delusional. Tank wants to drag guys up and down from weight classes. Yeah, people will say like Canelo Alvarez did. Sure. And guys that have that name recognition, they do that. Also, Andre Ward did it as well. Sugar Ray Leonard did it. Many top fighters in history have did that, right? Obviously, we know that Pacquiao did it, Floyd did it, De La Hoya did it. So, I think Roach would maybe, and I mean maybe, beat Valdez, and even that's stretching it. Yeah, stretching it. I think that would be a really competitive fight. I don't know if he'd beat. I don't think he'd beat Consecal. I don't think Lamont Roach beats fucking Consecal. Not at all. There's no chance he beats fucking Oshaki, and I don't think he has fucking any chance in hell of beating Navarrete. But Tank won't fight anyone who's a threat at 135. Well, let's just put it in perspective. Tank Davis has spent the majority of his career at 135 pounds now. He's never fought a world champion at that weight class. Right? Am I wrong? How many years? We have the technology. Let's check it out. We don't need to speculate. We can find out exactly. So Tank Davis started his career in 2013. He moved up in 2019. So 6 years. Okay. So 6 years he spent at 130 pounds. From 19 to 24, 25 now, he's been obviously at this weight class. So also about 6 years, going on 6. So he spent almost as much time as he has at 135 as he spent at 130. At 130, he fought 2 world champions, Petraza, Leo Santa Cruz, even though that one is kind of a shit fucking champion to say. But no world champions at 135 pounds. None. But Tank won't fight anyone. Nope. And I don't say this to hate. This is just the truth, right? This is a fact. And people want to compare Tank to fucking Canelo. How many fucking world champions has Canelo fought? 20-something? Tank Davis fought more world champions, but I mean, as far as world champions in his division, 4 titles, 0 and 2. This is nice. I like this. They were showcasing the February 22nd card, and they broke it down with these pictures, which were pretty cool. Talking, of course, about what a great card this is. And when you think about this, I mean, we already mentioned how, this is a good card for Americans because you got 2 solid American fighters. Obviously, Madrimov, Virgil, Shakur versus Floyd. But then when you think about the European fight between Bivol Beterbiev, the first fight was fucking great. There's no reason to expect that the second fight won't be great as well. And then the UK fight, right? When you talk about Boazzi versus Smith, this is a great fight. This is like an 0-2 headline fight, right? A fight that people wanted for a long time, that or Anthony Yard. And we got this fight out of nowhere. And then, of course, Daniel Dubois fighting Joseph Parker, which is the fight I was pushing for because Parker deserved it. He's had great victories recently. And this is a great matchup. Great matchup. Parker, Dubois, 2 fighters in their prime, right? Then, of course, the biggest sort of up-and-coming young sort of guys, even though they're not really young, is Carlos Adames defending his WBC title versus Hamza Shiraz, right? A UK fighter, obviously a PBC fighter, great matchup. And then, of course, just to throw in there for fun, you throw in fucking Ajit Kabial, who's been one of the most impressive heavyweights in 2024, obviously along with Dubois and Parker and Usyk against Zhilei Zhang in what is a great fight. Obviously I would have preferred Bakoli versus Zhang just because of the size measurements of those 2 giants. But I think Ajit Kabial is a very underrated fighter, probably the best heavyweight fighter who doesn't really get any attention at all, even after great victories like him beating Sanchez. Majority of people thought Sanchez was going to box circles around him. It was complete surprise that he went in there and fucking beat Sanchez's ass the way he did. What a card. Fucking, as a boxing fan, how can you not be excited by this? And literally, as they said, $25 to watch this on pay-per-view. I think Roach would probably beat Kansakau. I'll give him that one. Navarrete couldn't really beat him. Shaki Foster beat him, but really it took 2 times for him to beat him. I don't know. Better Biev is going to stop Bivol. That's what I think. I think he's going to be much better the second time around. That knee surgery is going to be quite a bit in the distance. His legs are going to be better. And now I think he's just going to be more familiar with what Bivol is going to do. I don't know what Bivol can do to adjust to beat Better Biev. I'm not an absolute Benavidez fanboy. I like Benavidez, but I want to see him. I don't want to see him fight Better Biev if Better Biev beats Bivol. I broke down why on BT's Live. See, I don't understand how you're a boxing fan, David, but you don't want to see Benavidez fight Better Biev. Is it just because you're afraid that he's going to get fucking knocked out? But you'd be okay if Benavidez fights Bivol if Bivol wins? Come on, man. Raf says Bivol will win. Well, I don't think he won the first time, and I don't think he could do better the second time around. But I do think Better Biev will do better. Navarrete hurt his hand, bro. I don't care. Hurt your hand, didn't fucking hurt your hand. Just fucking throw more punches, land more punches against a defense fighter who isn't the most offensively great fighter. Navarrete versus Oshaki, make it happen. Yeah, but that's not the fight I prefer. I'd prefer to see Navarrete versus Espinoza. Did you see the picture of them standing beside each other? Espinoza looks like a fucking giant. He could easily go to 135 tomorrow and fight, and he'd be bigger than anyone he fought at fucking 135. He's huge. Better BF would end Benavidez, and that's why David doesn't want him to fight him, because he doesn't want his man to be exposed. And then the whole Canelo Alvarez fucking Benavidez story no longer looks as justified. I agree. I think Better BF will KO him. Knee will be better, and he won't be coming off of such a long layoff. Exactly. Yes, I don't want to see Benavidez get destroyed by Better BF. It's a bad style matchup. But that's a pussy way of being a boxing fan. That's what Tank Davis and Floyd Mayweather and all these PBC Deontay Wilder fight fans are. They don't want to see their fighters in fights where they potentially could lose. I don't care. You could throw Pacquiao in with anyone. You could throw fucking Lomachenko in with anyone. Tank Davis, Devin Haney, Shakur. I don't care. Any of them. Benavidez has other good opponents he can fight that will move up. Oh my God. Who can Benavidez fight that are good opponents? So he's not going to fight the undisputed world champion. He's going to fight opponents moving up from 168 pounds. Or he could move up to cruiserweight and fight fucking Zurdo. Zurdo's going to get fucking beat by Opataya. So they don't want a Opataya fight. They just want a Zurdo fight. So who? I'm honest, though. Honesty fucking doesn't change the pussy factor of the statement. The difference is I don't think Benavidez beats some of those guys. What guys? You didn't say any guys. Who will win, Benavidez or Morrell? I'm picking Morrell. Morrell by devastating TKO. This is another good one I saw on social media. These are some historical great records. Archie Moore, and let's think about which of these do you think potentially could be broken. Archie Moore's 131 knockouts in his career. Obviously, never going to be broken because guys just don't fight that much. Wilfredo Benitez becoming a world champion at 17 years old. Oh, Tank Davis, the youngest world champion ever. Yeah, okay. You're really that fucking stupid, JB. 17 years old, he became a world champion. I don't know if we're ever going to see somebody 17-year-old get an opportunity to fight for a world champion in this day and age, right? is probably unlikely because of how regulated everything is right now, as opposed to how it was in the 70s when Benavidez became a champion. Pacquiao becoming an 8 division world champion. Is it literally 8 or is it 7? Was the 8 like a regular title or a legitimate title? I know there's always some controversy there. But whether it's 7 or 8, I don't think we're going to see anyone beat Pacquiao's record ever, right? You'd have to have a guy come from fucking like Inoue, those lower divisions. Inoue has to move up to 126, 130, and 135 to duplicate what Pacquiao has done. Sugar Ray Robinson's 91 fight win streak. We're definitely never going to get that. But Floyd Mayweather is the greatest because he's 50-0. Ray Robinson was 91-0 over this streak. And prior to that, I think he was 49-1. So you went 49-1, and then you went 91-0. But Floyd Mayweather should be pound for pound number 1 all time. Only in modern era. The same people that say LeBron James should be over Michael Jordan in fucking the best player in basketball history. Mike Tyson winning the heavyweight world title at 20 years old. That's likely one of the ones that most likely could be beaten. Right now we know that Utama is on pace where if he was to get, say, a Daniel Dubois fight, or they're talking about the WBA regular title. So would you count that, guys? If Utama beats what's his face, who just won the WBA regular title, does he break Mike Tyson's winning streak of being the youngest heavyweight world champion of all time? It's a world title, WBA, right? The real WBA title. Obviously, now we have an extra one, but historically there was just the one. And then, of course, George Foreman's heavyweight title win, 45-year-old, being the oldest world champion in boxing history. Heavyweight champion. And this is a title that potentially could be broken as well. There's speculation now that Klitschko would fight Tyson Fury in a rematch if Fury is able to beat Usyk, right? And this is one more reason why I hope Fury wins. I sort of edge Fury in the rematch, even though in truth I prefer if Usyk won, because, you know, Usyk beat Fury and then should just retire, right? Undefeated, 2-weight undisputed, great fucking legacy. Wins over fucking, obviously, Fury, AJ, Dubois, you know, and then, of course, everything he did in the cruiserweight division as well. But Fury against Klitschko, the rematch that never happened for an opportunity to beat George Foreman's record, man, that's fucking serious, that right there. That shit is serious. What did I miss out? Everyone is saying that Loma duck tank now after Loma chased his ass for 7 years. Why does he always have to answer the door every time folks knock on it? It's a duck, but others don't. Well, the reality is, think about it. You negotiate for months with a guy to make a fight. You fly over to America to sign the contract. When you get there, Tank Davis puts out some crazy tweet about wanting $40 million guaranteed. And then Lomachenko flies out, doesn't sign the fight, and says he's not interested in fighting the rest of this year. Do the math. Did Lomachenko walk away from the table because there was a real offer on the table, or was there some fuckery going on that he decided to say, fuck that, I don't need you. I don't need to pander to you. I don't need rehydration clauses or whatever fucking bullshit you're trying to put on. I don't need any of this because in truth, I don't need you. You need me, but I don't need you. So fuck yourself. The reason I don't want to see Benavidez fight Beterbiev is because some of those guys move up. They won't give credit for beating Benavidez after Beterbiev brutally beats him. Oh my God, get over it. What are you talking about? Morale has everything to beat Benavidez. Benavidez has more experience. Good fight. Hard to predict the winner. True. I would rather see Beterbiev move up and fight Jay Opataya and Benavidez to plant his own flag. Yeah, of course. You'd rather him have the easy route to fucking a world title and then act as if he's really done something significant, even though he didn't have to beat any legitimate champions at 168 and he didn't have to beat any significant champions at 175. No, I'd rather see him fight legitimate fighters, get his ass knocked the fuck out, and put him back where he really belongs uh, at this level, as opposed to the hype people are trying to hype him up to be. In truth, I wouldn't mind seeing Better BF move to cruiserweight to take on Alexander Usyk. I know that's a fight he's talked about because obviously they fought in the amateurs, and he would be intrigued by rematching with Usyk. Now that, of course, Usyk is, this generational fighter. Mexican boxing number one. Told you we run boxing. Check Sebastian Logan and Jorge and Picasso on the Munguia cards. They all great talent. Did that fight card already finish? I want my sack back. Regular titles don't count. Well, yes, I know. But in something like that, would he be recognized? Honestly, the only guy at 168 that I'd favor over Benavidez is Iglesias. I'd favor Canelo to beat his ass. I'd favor Iglesias. I'd favor Morel. I would favor fucking Diego Pacheco. Let's just be honest. Carlos Castillo on the Munguia card can be a gem at 147. I'd rather see the fight than Benavidez and Better BF because it's a little bit less a foregone conclusion. Raul Correal at 147 going to beat Rocha. He will beat the hype job Boots. I think Raul Correal beats Rocha. Drunk Irishman's in the house. What's up, man? I think Correal is going to beat Rocha tomorrow too. Yeah, I think so. But aren't they both Mexican? So isn't that a conflict of interest? Where is your best friend, JB? I'm sure he's around somewhere. Looking forward to Inoue Picasso. Kid lacks experience, but hits like a truck. Could catch Inoue coming in. Well, and now, of course, as you notice, the fight with Inoue and what's his face, Goodman, has been called off. Goodman has a cut on his last day of sparring before flying to Japan. If it's your last day of sparring, why are you wearing fucking headgear that's going to fucking even allow you to get cut? That's some bullshit. He's fighting Morel, so what more do you want? He's fighting Morel for some bullshit regular titles at 175. Why didn't he fight Morel at 168? I feel that the PBC's plan this year is to collab with Turkey doing the Crawford fight so he can fund the Benavidez fight in September. The fact that the PBC finally wants to try and make Loma tank 7 years too late completely destroys that side of the street's arguments the PBC man fans used for years. That's true. No Curiel, the better boxer. He was literally never lost a round, and they talk about Shakur not losing a round. Well, let's be fair. Who the fuck has he fought? Picasso doesn't have a good jab percentage or a good KO percentage. Yes, that's true. Picasso is too green for Inoue. Well, all this green talk don't mean anything in these smaller divisions, right? He's got more wins than many a Japanese fighter who fights for a world title, right? He's a number one ranked fighter. So, just go in there and fucking fight. If you're real, you'll find a way to win. And if you're competitive and you don't win, it's not going to hurt you in the future anyway. Yep, definitely suspect. Goodman losing that bag. I hear it was around 3 million euros. Fucking dumbass. PBC barely has any shows. Picasso can surprise you. Inoue isn't invincible. Nobody is. Nobody said he's invincible. I say that Picasso should fight him. You're going to get the bag, and you get the biggest opportunity of your career. If you beat Inoue, a star is born. And then Mexican boxing number one is going to come here and say, I told you so. I told you so. I told you so. Right? And if he's competitive and doesn't even get destroyed, it's only going to help him moving forward. Because who else is he going to run into at 122 that's as good as Inoue? I always said Espinosa and Navarrete beat Inoue. Oh, so the 6'1", 126 pounder beats fucking Inoue. Congratulations. That's a fucking big take. My question is, can Espinosa beat Navarrete? That's a fight that should be happening, right? WBO, WBO, move up, mandatory, boom, bam, chikacham, bam, bam, bam. Let's make that fight. Shenzai, right away. Let's get on it. Everybody wants to see Espinoza versus Navarrete, Mexico versus Mexico, Barrero, Morales, death match. Put it in a fucking cage. Put Barbara on that cage. Fucking set that shit up. That's the fight to do. Inoue, why are you fucking so interested in Inoue going to 126? Because no one at 122 can beat him? Inoue's going to have a new Picasso on his wall? Mara says, will they bring in a replacement or cancel the card and wait till February? I heard two different things. I haven't seen anything confirmed, but I heard on ESPN and somebody else said that they have a replacement. And for a big card like that, usually you have somebody, right, on the card who you could move into that position. But then somebody just on this live today said that the fight was canceled and is being rescheduled. But I think at this point, you don't need to give Sam Goodman his mandatory. This is the second fucking time in a row that fucking dude has lost his opportunity as a mandatory. How many more times are you going to give a mandatory so much fucking flexibility? They give the mandatory more flexibility than they give the champion. That shit's crazy. Crazy to me. Navarrete been calling him out since 122. Now we duck him. Shut up. What are you, fucking mental? So when Navarrete was at 122 and Inoue was at fucking 112, that's when Navarrete was calling him out. Oh, congratulations. Come on, man. Like just be a fucking boxing fan and not a fucking fanboy for Mexico. We already got enough fanboys for ethnicity all over the place. We don't need more. I like Espinoza to unify with Angelo Leo before moving up. Easy fight to make. That ain't going to happen. Espinoza only stayed at the division to fight Ramirez in the rematch to get that last payday. He's not going to fight at 126 anymore. He's going to move to 130. And, you know, Angelo Leo and all that, that's just the true school sports push, right? He thinks Angelo Leo is the best fighter at 126, a division that has no great fighter, no dominant fighter. The only great fighter maybe was Espinoza. Maybe Angelo Leo can get a rematch with Stephen Fulton if Fulton beats Figueroa. I'm always right though, and I'm be here. I told you so, like Jared Anderson being a hype job. Even though I'm the one on my podcast that predicted that Bacoli was going to beat him. So what's your point? Richard Torres Jr. has always been the best. Oh my God. That porn stashed fucking motherfucker ain't fighting nobody. I don't want to see Canelo fight Better BF either. I'd be cool with that too. I'm a boxing fan. Let's make fights. I don't need fucking excuses. Just make the fight. Mexican fans seem proud of their fighters. Black fans seem racist a lot of the time. Well, to be fair, if you only hype up fighters because they look like you, there's a lot of racism involved. The difference is, do you hate on other ethnical fighters that don't look like you, or do you just support your fighters, right? That's the difference between being a real fan and just being a racist hater. And we know with JB, it's racist hate. Because if you want to support black fighters, no one gives a fuck. Do it. We all know you're going to fucking support the black fighter. So it's not a surprise. The problem is when, say, a Mexican fighter or a Mexican trainer like Robert Garcia, when asked about a matchup, says he's picking the Mexican fighter because he always supports Mexico. And then somebody like JB shits on him and criticizes him for doing that, as if he doesn't have the right to support his own people. He didn't hate on the opponent. He just picking his fighter based on the fact that they're both Mexican. This is the same as when you go to the Mayweather gym and they ask Roger Mayweather. He goes around asking everyone who's going to win. All the brothers fucking always pick the brothers to win the fights, 90% of the time. So what's the difference? There is no fucking difference. We expect blacks to support black fighters. We expect Mexicans to support Mexican fighters, like we expect Puerto Ricans to support Puerto Rican fighters, like we expect Japanese to support Japanese fighters. And if you support somebody else, that's your right too. You fucking can support who you want. You just don't have to be a hater in the process. I don't even know what your statement is. Uh, he doesn't have a beard. He's got a porn stash. It's just a mustache, like 1970s porn. What beard? You see Jared better than Richard. And I think he is better. I think he beat Richard's ass. Uh, why do you got between Boatsy and Callum Smith? That's a tough pick. I would have picked Boatsy back in the day because I thought he had a lot of upside, but he's really sort of stagnated. So at this point, I kind of lean towards Callum Smith because he's been in with the far better level of opposition, right? If Boatsy wins, it's going to be significant because the only guys to beat Callum Smith are Canelo and Better BF, right? Elite fighters, A level. So if Boatsy is going to beat him, he's going to have to be A level. That's John Boxing. He said Richard Hutchinson is the best now. Oh, of course. Yeah. Every black guy that wins is the best. I got Ernesto Mercado sparkling him out. JB says Hitchens' one win over Paro is better than anything Nakatani has done. I saw that because that's how fucking stupid and racist he is. He doesn't want to give Nakatani any credit at all. And now he's acting as if Liam Paro is really significant, right? Until Liam Paro won the fight. And then he downplayed Liam Paro the next time he fought a black fighter, right? We know John, he's a hater. That's all he is. He wants to point fingers and project that everyone is a racist like himself. Whereas the truth is, he's just exposing himself. Because why do you need to come out shitting on Nakatani this week? Nakatani was just at the WBC convention winning an award, right, at the WBC convention. There's no need to hate on him. He's shaking hands with Bud Crawford. He's there with all the boys doing the rounds, getting fucking praised because of how great he's been fighting. But JB going to come out here and shit on him because he's Asian. Disappointed that Madrimov, Bochuk canceled, but we get Madrimov Virgil for bragging rights. Virgil got the opportunity to knock out a guy Crawford couldn't. True. Pero Pepe, what's up? Who do you support the most? Me? I'm not based on race. I'm from Canada. The majority of fighters I watched growing up were Black American fighters. My favorite fighters mostly were Black American basketball players, Black American boxers. So when people say I hate Black Americans, I'm like, no. If I'm negative towards Black Americans, it's because Black American boxing fans fucking pushed me away, right? Floyd Mayweather fans who fucking made it seem as if me supporting Pacquiao was wrong. First of all, I'm not American, so I don't need to support the American. And me supporting one minority over another minority doesn't make me a racist because they're both fucking minorities. Neither are like me. But I supported the fighter. I enjoyed watching the fighter that was more entertaining, the fighter that I look forward to watching. I've never looked forward to a Floyd Mayweather fight in my entire fucking life. Does it make me racist? No. It just means I find Floyd Mayweather overrated and boring. You may love him, and that's fine. You can enjoy him, but I won't. In my opinion, black fans are the most biased, not being racist, just being real. Most black fans hate on all black fighters. And it's not just boxing, it's basketball as well. I grew up playing basketball, right? White players never got the benefit of the doubt. Oh, he probably could shoot, but he can't jump. He's not athletic. He can't play defense, right? all the typical fucking tropes that you hear all the time. This is normal within the black community. They use race consistently, but yet moan and groan consistently when they feel that they're being persecuted because of their race. You can't have it both ways. You can't consistently point at other people, downplay them, and then fucking get emotionally offended when people do the same thing to you. Like JB, when I said last week that literally in his community page, he's posted that blacks are superior. He's done that multiple times. Literally posting that blacks are superior to other races. That's racism. If anyone else did it, they'd be lambasted. But in America, you know, there's black privilege. As a black person in America, you can say anything and no one's going to be critical of you because they're afraid if they do, they're going to get fucking canceled. So, you can say anything you want. You can break into a store, steal stuff. No one's going to say anything. You can fucking say all whiteies should die. People are just going to be like, oh, okay. Caitlin Clark's going to come out and say she's got white privilege. But as a white girl playing in the WNBA, what privilege did she get because she was white? Literally, she got zero privilege because she was white. And just the opposite. She's got more hate because she's white than she would have if she was black. If she was black within the WNBA, she would have fucking been revered, right? Revered. But, it is what it is. Callum Smith going to KO that dude. Could. No way he already beat him in the Olympics trial, Sean. This is what I mean. Jared is not better than Richard. Never will be. Yeah, okay. Ernesto Machado, he's also like how many years younger? So when he fought him in the trials, how old was fucking Jared? 18. And Torres was 26. Ernesto Machado is nicknamed Tito. They are serving up Pedraza. Oh, well, that's good then. That's a good fight for him. Judd is a mental case saying he put Inoue number 2 if he beats Fulton, but never did while putting Tank over the monster. I know. And that's why my channel got shut down. Bolchuk is getting screwed bad. He is getting screwed. That's true. That's funny. They go for Andy Ioka at 140 a bit because he's part African. Actually, I've never heard one black American support Andy Ioka. Turkey exposed Tank and Shakur and Boots protecting their O's by ducking. They are calling him out more, and they're getting exposed by not fighting enough and cherry picking. Black people calling his behavior out as well. Well, it's not that he's not fighting someone. It's the process and the things he said prior that make him look bad. He did post that blacks are superior. That's funny. Yeah, of course he did. I'm not lying. When have I ever lied? Never. White basketball players like Bill Laimbeer just took their teeth for driving to the hoop. That's true. Like, I grew up, man, in the era of Boston Celtics, Larry Bird, and Duke. I was a Dr. J fan. I hated the Celtics. And you think any fucking brother that I played basketball with was a Celtics fan? Fucking none. Zilch. Nada. And then when Duke was dominant, I liked Michigan. I like UNLV. The guys I hung out with, none of us supported fucking Duke. Me, because I liked the same things they liked. Athletic, springy guys. But, this mentality hasn't changed. It's the same. Just because I bought into it doesn't mean it's any different today than it was back then. It's no fucking different. Did you ever watch WWF wrestling in the 80s? Did you know Iron Mike Sharp? I did. Do you think Teo can beat Hitchens? Hitchens is a tough style for Teo. A tough style. The wrong style. It's not that he couldn't beat him, but he's looked bad against that kind of fighter. Long outboxers. The only way I'll give Jaron Ennis a pass is if he fights Stanionis. That Jared better than Torres, that's a lie. Boots Virgil. H Money says, send the contract a lot, but now Boots and his fighters need to sign the contract. The Fab Five, baby. Fab Five. And before them, fucking UNLV with Stacey Augman and fucking Larry Johnson. Jesus fucking Christ, man. What a squad that team was. Larry Johnson coming out of community college, going fucking joining Tarkanian. They were a great team. But then what happened? They lost the fucking Duke. Michigan lost the fucking Duke. You know, it is what it is. But, you know, imagine those teams and those matchups today and the racial push on social media that we would have to deal with. It would be ridiculous. Fucking crazy. Kind of like the whole fucking Caitlin Clark scenario right now. The fact that people support her, but yet, you know, you can't support her because that's racist. Virgil Stop Stanionis, that guy gets hit a lot. How long is boxing going to give Tank Davis a pass on his career? Well, until he retires. We're not Tank Davis. We're not Tank Davis a duck. College ball ain't the same anymore. NBA trash. Feels like watching a pickup game at the YMCA, jacking up threes. I still enjoy college. Right now, I was watching college basketball before I came online. I've been watching a lot of college basketball because you can watch a lot of games on YouTube. Obviously not live, but nonetheless, I work in the morning. So when I come home, it's perfect. So then I just throw on. I've been watching Kentucky. They've been playing really well. I've been watching Duke, watching the next Christian Laettner. He's playing good, man. And unlike Christian Laettner, he's not a big mouth and he's more athletic. Virgil would destroy and hurt Ryan badly. He always speaks facts, so it makes sense why he wants to fight Ryan. Lomachenko beat Shakur. They should make that fight, give the shouting match they had. Never saw Lomachenko that worked up. Yeah, but the problem is Shakur walked away from Top Rank, right? So that's why I said earlier, it's far more likely that we're going to get him versus Keyshawn. And of course, if that happens and he beats Keyshawn, people are going to say, oh, he's cherry picking a guy who's young. Okay. Shakur and I think Keyshawn are almost the same age, but okay. I only tune in during March Madness rooting for the underdog schools. I love college basketball because it's, to me, it's all these young guys that are really hungry trying to make the name for themselves, right? Unlike the NBA. Do you think Arthur is going to stop Bivol in the rematch? Yes. Shakur making America great again, boxing boring again. That 90-91 UNLV team was special. They were. Great team. I forget who the tall Jarvis Bassnight, was that his name? Jarvis Bassnight, the long, lanky forward center guy, fucking threw down great dunks. I think his name was Jarvis Bassnight. Man, that guy. He's throwing down crazy dunks all over everybody. Shakur cures insomnia. That's true. He does. I like him, right? I think he's great, but I don't want to watch him fight, right? And this is the case with many skilled fighters. Just because people give you props for being great doesn't mean that you're entertaining, doesn't mean that you're marketable. Shakur is not marketable, right? He talks so much trash and then goes out and disappoints fucking all the time. And it just becomes disappointing to be a fan, obviously, when a guy never lives up to the expectation that he's trying to push out. Anybody think Fury can get it done in the rematch? I do. Anybody, where are we? Shakur, theme song, he's a runner, he's a track star, was funny, went viral, everybody liked that catchy tune. Then Boots went viral for ducking. I want to give shout outs, of course, to the champions who just had big performances the past week. Espinoza, dominant performance, literally making fucking Ramirez quit like a bitch. Obviously, Hitchens beating Leon Paro. Surprise, Paro didn't show better in fighting skills. And Navarrete doing exactly what I said he would do, destroying Valdez faster in the rematch, stopping him in sensational fashion. And that's why I would love to see Espinoza Navarrete fight, because it's just a natural fight. ESPN Top Rank, WBO. There's no reason this shouldn't be their next fight sometime in March of 2025. Let's hope so. And as far as Richard Hitchens, who cares? Because when you talk about Devin Haney, Richardson, Hitchens, I mean, either one of those two fighters, nobody's excited to see what they do next unless they get a real good opponent. But as far as their style, no one's really excited. Usyk stopping Fury, Shakur, like watching paint dry. Espinoza is a legend. Cuban still crying about it. See how everybody hates the Mexican boxing. Who hates the Mexican boxing? How do you all think Benavidez' morale will end by knockout? Jack Catterall or Matias beating him their whack. I don't know what you even mean by that. Hear me out, Sean. I think Usyk would have had a good chance of beating Ali. Think about it. Slick southpaw, undefeated, barely ever tested, fast, high IQ. Which Ali? 1960s Ali or 1970s Ali? Because it's completely different. Ioka versus Martinez, repeat or revenge? Ioka always does better on the rematches, right? He's kind of like the professor, right? Azuma Nelson always finds a way to win in the rematch. So I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. But he's also 36 years old right now. Time catches up to all of us. Puma is obviously an aggressive, good fighter. I would love to see a potential Puma versus Bam Rodriguez fight, probably more than Ioka versus Bam. If Bam fights Ioka, it's just another fucking old fighter past his prime that he put on his resume. The question is, when's he going to fight a non-old fighter who's in his prime? Cuban Afros are so mad, dude, or so many, dude. The Spanish YouTube channels spew hate. Okay, I never listened to them. Are there a lot of them? You hear about Bill Haney trying to make Devin versus Rolly and going to be on pay-per-view? Fuck. Right? He better work with the PBC to put on that shit because that's right down their fucking alley. Who wants to watch that garbage? Ioka, what I told you about him, he lost to Francisco Rodriguez Jr. Watch the fight. Dude, man, we're not talking about Francisco Rodriguez Jr. Move past it. Don't be surprised if he stops Yafai. They're not going to fight. Yes, a lot. No, baby, prime Ali. I think Usyk would have had a good shot. Not only he can clean out cruiserweight, but went to heavyweight, beat both the top dogs, one of them twice. Amazing career. Well, let's just do a quick recap. So, better feet, Ali or Usyk? Come on, Ali. Faster hands, Ali or Usyk? Ali. Right? Better body puncher, Usyk. Better chin, Ali. Endurance, even Steven. Both great. There's just no way I can see Usyk beat a prime Ali. Ali was just as tall, 6'3", probably had a longer reach. Let's just quickly check it out. Heavyweight rankings all time. So Ali, 6'3" with a 78-inch reach. Weighed about 220. Usyk, 6'3", 78-inch reach. Okay, so exact same reach. But yeah, I just don't see any way Usyk could beat a prime Ali. Ali would just circle the ring with his foot, throwing out his jab, waiting to land his backhand. Usyk is better. Better at what? What is Usyk better than? They all, unless they duck Francisco again, I think Usyk would have great chance to beat prime Ali as well. Not saying he would win, but Usyk would be a live dog in that fight. But what can he do better than Ali in 1960s Ali? Also a gold medal winner. People don't like this debate, but Usyk winning is bigger than Ali and his style so advanced. Mexican boxing. I don't know if you actually know who Ali was in 1960s. Prime Derek Chisora versus Prime Holyfield. Holyfield. No fucking doubt. Ukrainian boxing, one of the best right now with that footwork. But the footwork is not better than fucking Ali. I think they have the best footwork right now. Okay. Are you serious? Hey, Sean, you see Tank Davis hating on Arthur, saying Arthur is ass. That dude is a clown. I wish Arthur was in the same weight class as Tank. Tank would not fight Arthur. He would be scared. Let's just think about who was the better amateur. Arthur. Who actually beat all the top fighters in his division? Arthur, right? Both great knockout power, but one fighter is just better overall. Sure, you could say Tank Davis probably has faster feet and faster hands, but what's the point of having faster hands, faster feet if you don't fight fucking elite competition? Like, there's nobody on fucking Tank Davis's resume that's as good as fucking Dimitri Bivol. Nobody. And he could fight Shakur Stevenson, which would be similar, but he won't. I think Usyk is more creative and great upper body movement with all the amazing gas tank. Even Usyk himself would say Ali beats him. The Ali would fought Ernie Terrell, Cleveland Williams. Too quick for Usyk. Too quick. His feet are faster. His hands are faster. Like, there's nothing Usyk could do better than Ali, except he would go to the body maybe, right? Which is something Ali never really did. Machado Thunderdome said Derek Chisora would beat Prime Frazier and Prime Holyfield. Well, to be fair, Thunderdome's got a lot of bad takes, right? There's no way Chisora fucking beats Prime Holyfield. Karen, Loma, Dennis, Bolchuk, Usyk, and many more coming up. All great new styles for their own. Yes, you're right. Ukrainians are much better than Mexicans. That's a fact. You caught that one. Yup, facts. No one on Tank's resume anywhere near the level of Bivol. Not even close. I've never watched Thunderdome. Never forget the Tank Duck Lomachenko when they were in the same weight. Loma best loss. Tio is better than Tank's best win. Alexander Krasnick is a good amateur coming up. Yeah, but Krasnick, he spent too long in the amateurs with a pro style, right? He's not really going to make much of an impact in the pros, not as much as he should, even though he's probably, still good for the weight class. But the problem is wasted his career. Now, dude, Usyk would school him. Dude, Usyk would school who? Ali? Come on, man. Usyk is not fucking schooling fucking Ali. Not even in your dreams. I would never count out Usyk, though, Sean. Usyk is greatness, dude. Would be a live dog in that all fight. Maybe he loses, but I would not count Usyk. Nice try, but Virgil beats Holchuk. I don't think people know how great Ali was back then. The only equalizer that Usyk would give up 50 pounds, or wouldn't give up 50 pounds. Other than that, Ali all day. Yep. Tyson Fury would cause problems for him too. It's different times, dudes. Tyson Fury causes trouble because he's 6'9" with an 84-inch reach and a 50-pound weight advantage. He creates problems for everybody in boxing history, now and before. That's not Usyk. Usyk is no bigger than historical boxers. Same size as Foreman, same size as Ali, maybe a little smaller than Foreman. There's a lot of other fighters, Sonny Liston, basically the same size. This is Foreman is a special, I mean, Fury is a special case. You never had a 6'9" fighter who had fucking fluid footwork until Tyson Fury. Exactly. And he will win. Who will win? Fury? Fight Film made an interesting argument that the only reason fights were more exciting in Ali's day was because nobody had any defense back then. But that's also bullshit. Some of the best defenders were from back in that day. I'm telling you, you're wrong, Sean, respectfully. There are boxing historians who say Usyk would win. Okay, buddy. So, talking to you is like talking to any other fucking moron in the world that fucking says, oh, well, an expert said this, so I'm going to believe everything that they say. You're a fucking adult. Do your own research, make up your own fucking mind. If you feel he would win, fine. You feel he'd win. Doesn't mean I have to fucking agree with you. And doesn't mean I'm ever going to agree with you. Because unlike you, I actually watched Ali live. I grew up watching him. So maybe I have more of a appreciation for him. Also, I don't hate on every fighter because they're black. Machado, he's a cool guy, but he can be on some crazy stuff as well. Well, he's stoned all the time, right? No big difference. I'm right. Sometimes it's like talking to a child with that I'm right mentality. Dude, you're an adult. Fucking act like an adult. Anthony Joshua forgot how to box, I think. I think so. I think that's fucking true. His best boxing days are behind him. Inoue should be above Terrence in rankings for the simple fact that he's been way more active. Well, that's the one justification I gave John. But of course, John, like many people, Ring IQ and others, they think somehow pound for pound lists are like this accumulative fucking situation. So right now, the best team in European football should be Man City with Real Madrid number 2, right? Because of what they've done historically. So those should be number 1 and number 2 because, well, they won the most titles and they got the best players and they won the most Champions Leagues. So based on that, they should be number 1 and 2. Other teams like Liverpool obviously should be down now because they haven't been as dominant over the last 10 years, even though they've done well, but maybe put them around number 7. But the problem with this thinking is that has nothing to do with now. When we talk about boxers being pound for pound in 2024, December 14th, it's based on what the fuck are you doing now? Bud Crawford is 37 years old, doesn't fight very often, is very inactive, and is now currently in his 4th weight division and struggled against a fighter that had 10 professional fights. I didn't hate on him for it because I appreciate that fighter. But if you want to talk about Inoue, who's been far more busy, doing more, that's why people rank him higher. The same as Usyk, right? It's not based on what you did at 135 pounds. That has no bearing at all on where you are pound for pound right now. See, I knew you were fucking listening. No bearing whatsoever. Because you're not the same fighter today that you were before. So you can't use this accumulative sort of situation as the be all to end all. Like you see Ring IQ does it, right? Somebody, let's think, who currently doesn't have a world title. Oh, Bivol. So Bivol doesn't have a title right now, even though he's been a pound for pound fighter. But because he lost a very close, controversial fight to Better BF, he's no longer ranked on Ring IQ's pound for pound list. Even though he fought a controversial edge fight against a pound for pound top fighter. If anything, this only justified him as being a pound for pound fighter. It didn't dismiss him from the pound for pound list because he lost what many people feel was a robbery. I don't think it was a robbery, but nonetheless, that doesn't justify you falling off the pound for pound list. And then if he comes back and beats somebody who's a bum but wins a world title, now all of a sudden that elevates him back onto the list, right? you know, you're on a pound for pound list today based on what you are today. Sure, your history helps you, gives you credit for being, beating so many champions, winning so many weight divisions, unifying so many titles. But then at the end of the day, what have you done for me recently? John doesn't want to fucking give Usyk credit, even though imagine if Bud Crawford moves up and beats Canelo Alvarez, how much credit he's going to give him for moving up weight divisions and fighting a guy much bigger, right? He talked about Bud Crawford becoming the number one fighter in boxing history above Sugar Ray Robinson if he beats Canelo Alvarez, right? But yet Usyk fought a guy 50 pounds heavier than him, beat him, and he doesn't get credit really for doing that, even though he's done what no other fighter in boxing does today, which is fight someone clearly bigger than him in another weight division. And this isn't hating on Crawford. This is giving Usyk credit for doing something that Crawford and Inoue don't do. But okay, so here we are. So I'm guessing you've been talking about me and black people your whole life. Oh, and of course you come out here and fucking start ranting about fucking black and white. I was just defending Muhammad Ali. Of course, you didn't listen to any of that. You just want to fucking, of course, come here and cry racism. John, if you're just going to be a simp and a fucking whiny fucking woke motherfucker, just fuck off. Because we don't need that. We need adults. People that fucking act like adults, not children. I work with children all day. Here comes the crybaby victim, John races boxing. Exactly. You don't follow football? Man City on 7-match losing streak. Liverpool 7 points ahead of everyone else. My point, drunk Irishman, obviously Liverpool right now on a pound for pound list would be number one above both Man City and Real Madrid because they're the team playing better now. They're the team doing something now. We're not using histrionics as a way to justify somebody being ranked. Tim Bradley seems like a Navarrete detractor saying he isn't willing to face slick black fighters. Oh, that's just a typical trope from black American boxing fans, right? They don't hold that to fucking, black fighters. Tank Davis never fought a slick black fighter until he fought Frank Martin. And that was never brought up in conversation. But it's always brought up for non-black fighters. Inoue, Pacquiao, Golovkin, Canelo. Canelo's fought more slick black fighters than everyone. But yet still, constantly, he's afraid of fighting black slick fighters. Okay. How come they don't say that about David Benavidez? You've never heard one of those people ever say that about David Benavidez. Because it's all just a trope used to fucking detract and take away from people, right? Sure, there's certain styles that people match up better against than others. Navarrete matches up well against a slick black fighter because he's an aggressive volume puncher. John Boxing don't know who Nakatani beat. He don't know, so he assumes nobody knows and nobody's talking about it. Nobody's ever talked about what Nakatani's done, even though I had videos on my channel until you had it deleted talking about his victories at 112 pounds. What do you mean? And then, of course, once he moved to 115, and now that he's at 118. And John, ask one simple question. How many weight classes has Tank Davis won titles in? Or what is he? Is he a 2 or 3 weight champion? Expose yourself, John. Go. John, you mad that non-blacks mostly make up the pound for pound list? Imagine living with so much hate in your heart. John Boxing's here. Zerdo, pound for pound. Fuck off, drunk Irishman. Hey, John, why Boots ducking Virgil since you always say all non-black fighters are scared of black fighters? What happened there, bro? Well, he's not a Boots Ennis fan, so don't bring that up because he would just use it as a way to belittle and downplay Boots more. Hey, John, can you see my comments or did you block this one too? Something happened to JB. He was bullied by Latinos and whites. Has to be the reason. I think he's bullied by his wife, who's a Latina, and that probably has more to do with it. Your best friend. I know, my best friend, my BFF. I'm already thinking of my Christmas present for him. Usyk #1, Inoue 2, Crawford can be third. They mock Lomachenko when he struggles with Linares and when Crawford struggles with a guy who had 10 fights, crickets. But that's the point. People are quick to criticize based on one criteria. But yet when that criteria can be moved against fighters they like, Mexican boxing #1 is no different. Then of course they ignore that. Where are we? Whatever happened to JA05? Timothy Bradley never said that. How do you know what Tim Bradley fucking never said? See, John, once again, who did Tim Bradley say had a better resume between Tank Davis and Devin Haney? Since you know everything fucking Tim Bradley said. Tell us. Well, to be fair, Bradley doesn't like Tank and rightfully goes in on him. John Boxing, you think Foster beats Navarrete? Of course he does. He's crying in his car somewhere. I think Navarrete beat Bohulchuk and then Haney fought. It was close though. Remember when Inoue never fought a slick black fighter until he slapped the shit out of Fulton? Navarrete outworks Oshaki. Watch The State of Boxing. He said this about Navarrete recently. No, he didn't. He didn't say that. When they fought, my phone has a mind of its own. Sean should fight John already. So much tension there. There's no tension. Unlike you, I'm here talking about boxing. I don't hate or despise anybody on YouTube because why would I? I don't care that much. John is the black to my white, right? The Stephen A. Smith to my Skip Bayless. That's all. That's the way I see John. He, of course, is an angry black man, so he may have different feelings, but that's his issue that he needs to work out through therapy. Nothing to do with me. Zerto, Tank beat more belt holders and did something Tank never did to unify. Well, you can have that conversation with John, because I don't think he would have Zerto ranked above Tank Davis. Because on my pound for pound list, I have Tank Davis ranked number 5 or number 6. Nakatani is ranked like number 8, 9, or 10. But then he uses Tank Davis to compare against Nakatani. Because, well, Nakatani's never unified, but I still have Tank Davis ranked above him. So what are you fucking talking about? Like, I have Tank Davis ranked above Nakatani, neither of whom have unified. Nakatani's a 3-weight world champion. Tank Davis is a 2-weight world champion. 2, John, right? Because the WBA regular title doesn't count. Or does Golovkin have the middleweight title defense record beating Bernard Hopkins' record? Which is it? Because you can't have it both ways. I know you lie in your channel fucking all the time. You still say Leo Santa Cruz had 2 fights at 130 pounds before he fought Tank Davis. No, he didn't. He had 1 against a bum-ass opponent for a vacant title. Don't lie. If you're going to fucking talk about boxing and argue about it, don't lie. Because we all fucking know when you're lying. It's easy to fact check. Google BoxRec, Leo Santa Cruz resume. Oh, 1 fight. Okay. Oh, Tank Davis, 140-pound fight. WBA regular title against Mario Barros. Oh, not a legitimate world title. Oh, okay. 2-weight world champion. Nakatani, like Shakur, 3-weight world champion. Shakur, who's also listed on my pound-for-pound list. I would like to know who John ranks above Junto Nakatani on his pound-for-pound list. I mean, probably Charlo, who hasn't fought in over a year. Like, if you haven't fought in over a year, generally you're not even listed on a pound-for-pound list. You're not ranked on any of the rankings anymore. BoxRec fucking deletes you off their rankings completely because you're not active. You can't be ranked if you're not active. Is that really John Boxing? It is. JB, 80% race, 20% boxing. That's a fact. Whereas me, I'm 80% boxing, 20% race. But as a result of people like John, that just make me angry with their fucking constant fucking white privilege fucking race cards that they pull out all the time whenever they have a conversation. Uh, Navarrete versus Foster plays out like Tony versus the Blade, with Foster being Tony, Navarrete being the Blade. I wonder how many complaints John Boxing made to YouTube. Probably a lot. Realist. You'll notice how all these boxing channels never talk about the heavyweight division now. How do you hardly make any videos about undisputed heavyweight champions? We all know why. No black boxers. Exactly. No Deontay Wilder, as I listed before, one of the most overrated boxers in history, according to AI. Not according to me, AI. Usyk, Inoue, Canelo, Bud, and Bam. Well, to be fair, how do you put Canelo Alvarez above Bud Crawford when Canelo lost to Bivol? Right? Bud's still undefeated as far as I remember. And Bam, he's been beating all old men, even though I don't mind him being at number 5, but I kind of edge Tank Davis above him at number 5 and Bam at number 6. Canelo, I wouldn't have even in the top. He would be probably 5, then Tank, then Bam, because you got to have better BF in there. How do you not have better BF in the top 5? Victimhood mentality. Or you can just ignore what I'm saying. Simple. I wonder, how did a boxing live turn into what black people are doing? John, what are you talking about? We just talked about boxing points, and then you talk about this stupid comment. Like, why aren't you addressing anything boxing related that people actually asked you? You're literally here in the comment section of this live, a black person, and people ask you specific questions, and somehow you ignore every single one of them to do what? Play victimhood, right? Literally, that's what you're doing by this comment. What do you think this comment is other than victimhood? Or you can just ignore what I'm saying, simple, and wonder how a boxing live turned into what black people are doing. It's not about what black people are doing. It's about John Boxing. You are not all black people, John. You are not the president of American black people. Your opinions don't cover the whole fucking population of black Americans, even though you think they do. And the fucking generalizations you make acted out that way. It's not true. People disagree with you. Black Americans disagree with you. So, if you're going to be on a boxing fucking channel talking about boxing, the least you can do is focus on boxing and not fucking play victimhood. Because no one asked you to come here. You chose to come here, right? So are you going to talk boxing, or are you going to fucking play a victim? Because most of the questions people asked you were boxing related. When we talked about Zerto being ranked above Tank Davis, that's a boxing question. When somebody said that Timothy Bradley made a statement, you said, no, he didn't. But yet you don't even know fucking if he did or he didn't. Look, once again, victim. Why aren't you talking about boxing? Why do you need to make this a victim mentality? You didn't just spend 15 minutes talking about black people. You start your live off talking boxing, which bores your minions here in the chat. Then you bring up black people or me, and off you go. No, we talked about topics, John. And when you talk about boxing, black people are part of boxing. So here you have the Usyk card. Not really any black people. But here you have a black person that we were talking about, his victory and what potentially he could do next. Oh, here we talked about legendary fighters, many of whom were black, not all. And then, of course, we talked about an upcoming fight. Oh, several black people involved in this card. Oh, here's me mocking the PBC. They are all black, but I'm not mocking them because they're black. I'm mocking them because they're PBC fighters who fucking are the lost generation, haven't lived up to expectations. So this is all boxing related. But then you want to come here and push victimhood. John, people talked about boxing and asked you boxing related questions. And here you are fucking simping once again. So this is another example. We talked about this when I used John recently, when he said if Bud Crawford beats Canelo Alvarez, Bud Crawford is going to be recognized worldwide as a fighter greater than Sugar Ray Robinson. He's going to be recognized as the number one fighter in all of history. Yet, Sugar Ray Robinson had a, what was this? Let me see here. 91 fight win streak. So 91 fights in a row, he won. 91. Prior to that, he had a 49-1 record when he first started his career, with one loss, which he redeemed 4 times afterwards or something, right? But if Terence Crawford beats Canelo, he's going to be elevated above Sugar Ray Robinson. And this has nothing to do with hate on Crawford. It's just respecting people who fought before Bud Crawford, right? Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay, what? You still haven't talked about boxing, John. Literally everything you said is negative. Somebody makes a quote, not even directed to you, and then you say, no, he didn't. He didn't say that. Irish not asked you a question. Do you think Tank Davis or Zerto should be ranked higher on your pound for pound list? Who do you have on your pound for pound list? Is a question I asked you. Go, John. Instead of writing a paragraph, meaningless fucking blah, 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 tell us who your top 10 pound for pound fighters are, right? We're talking boxing. If you don't want to participate, then you're on the wrong live. You can go to fucking an LDBC live where all they're going to do is literally fucking spew hate consistently. But okay, you're a grown up. You can choose what you want to do. John Boxing getting on a debate. Stop hiding. Sugar Ray Robinson lost to the only born Mexican he ever fought. Did you know that, John Boxing? Of course, leave that to you to fucking pull that fucking gem out of your ass. If Crawford is serious about Canelo, he should fight the Munguia and Billy winner or Skull first. Come on. He doesn't need to fight any of those fucking dudes to justify or earn a Canelo Alvarez fight. They're both two of the best fighters of this generation. Having this fight now makes a lot of sense as far as legacy. Depending on how much you want to put on it, if Canelo beats Bud Crawford, John's not going to say that Canelo is the best fighter in boxing history. But of course, if Crawford wins, it's going to be completely different, right? Because that's the way people like John are. They're always trying to stack the deck in their favor. The truth is, it's a great fight. Two of the best fighters from this generation. I'm not pushing Crawford up, but if he chooses and wants to do that, I respect him for his decision. Canelo, on the other hand, he may feel that he's not interested in taking on a fighter coming up from 154. He already did it once, and we saw how that worked out. Bomac even came out and said that they would run in that fight, meaning boxing and jabbing and moving on the outside and try to fight Erislandy Lara style matchup versus him. Maybe that's just not what he's interested in, especially for a fight of that magnitude. So maybe he chooses to walk away because what's the point if that's the case? Both fighters are in a position of their career where they can chase who they want, right? You notice how that goes with both of them? I don't say that Crawford needs to fight fucking the guys at 154, just like I don't say Canelo needs to fight the guys at 168 like Benavidez. They're both at points of their career where they can choose to do what they want. I respect that. Well, Canelo is top pound for pound, considering the greatest Mexican fighter of all time. Canelo is king of 168. TC is a 2 divisions below. I don't understand your point. Yes, Canelo, on my list, if he's pound for pound, he's either 5 or 6. I don't know who I had before him, and then Tank under him, and then Bam, and then Better BF, Inoue, Crawford, Usyk. As far as the greatest Mexican fighter of all time, let's ask Mexican boxing fan if he thinks that, because many Mexican fight fans don't think he's the best Mexican fighter of all time. Even though I think he's totally in the conversation. I know boxing history has rivalries with everybody in the world. I can back my claims up why Mexicans run boxing. I think Crawford has maybe about 1 or 2 fights left, thinks he wants them to really count. Yeah, I appreciate that. John, boxing. Nope, it's Salvador Sanchez. You don't know boxing, John. Well, no. Nobody that's a real boxing fan has Salvador Sanchez number one. They say he probably would have been number one, but he doesn't have enough of a resume to be considered number one. Most people have Julio Cesar Chavez Sr. as number one. Machado, I prefer he goes for undisputed at 154, but hey, it's Crawford's choice. Me too. I agree. I would prefer to see him fight Virgil Ortiz and then fight the winner of Spence and Funduro. 2 fights, undisputed at 154, and then call it a day. You've done something that puts you on the list I showed earlier of some of the best historical records in boxing history. And John should appreciate this because look, out of these guys, every single one of them is black, more or less, outside of Pacquiao, who's Asian. And Wilfredo Benitez, he's Afro-Latina or Afro-Latin. So, obviously not a black American, but nonetheless, still black. And Bud Crawford could join that by being a 3-weight undisputed champion. The only guy really that potentially could duplicate that would be Inoue, who John would give 0 credit to and would say he's only chasing titles. Oh, okay. He's only chasing titles. Oh, okay. I thought he was trying to become undisputed, but okay. Apparently he's only chasing titles. Where are we? Nah, Sean, you're tripping like John. Canelo, not 5. He is 3. His resume speaks for itself. No, see, that's the problem with you, Mexican. Pound for pound is not based on fucking what you did fucking 10 years ago. It's based on what you did recently. You got beat recently. That's what you did recently. You got beat by Bibble. And Bibble got beat by Beterbiev. So he should be on the list above him because recently he's doing more. He's more significant than Canelo Alvarez. Having Canelo at number 5 is no disrespect because literally the guys above him, Usyk, 2-weight undisputed. Crawford, 2-weight undisputed. Inoue, 2-weight undisputed. Beterbiev, undisputed. Current undisputed. Beat Bibble. And then Canelo, undisputed, not currently because he was stripped by the IBF. Lost to Bibble. Then you got Tank. Then you got Bam. Then Shakur, Junta Nakatani, and Devin Haney's on the list as well. I think he's obviously up there, but it's hard to rate him after what I saw last time. But obviously, I think he's ahead of Shakur and not Bam, but Junto. But yeah, it's a great pound for pound list, right? You got all the names that need to be named. Oh, sorry, Bibble should be on that list too. So you can think about where he belongs. Where are we? Ruben Olivias can also be there, but I don't think anyone has him number 1. Nah, you're in the clouds. Sean, you sounded like John. How am I sounding like John? Yeah, he going for greatness. Nobody else doing that. Undefeated means jack. Nothing if they fighting bums. So Errol Spence was a bum. Stephen Fulton was a bum. Tyson Fury was a bum. Dimitri Bivol was a bum. What are you talking about? Canelo hasn't beaten anyone as good as anyone I just said in his last 5 fights. So when Canelo destroys Bud, no excuses. I won't make excuses. I wonder how anyone can be a boxing but don't watch all divisions, then ask hoo-ha. I agree with that. I mean, this is an American-centric mentality that they think they can only watch fucking 10% of boxers in the sport, but yet they know fucking everything and they can be critical and speculate and talk about everything, even though they don't watch fucking everything. They don't know anything. Like, you don't watch heavyweights, you don't watch cruiserweights, you don't watch fucking 122, 118, 115, 112, 108, or 105. And even the divisions you do watch, 126, pick a few fights, maybe here or there. Only if it's a black guy. 130, only Oshaki Foster. 135, only Shakur and Tank Davis. At 140, only Devin Haney. At 147, only Boots. At 154, only Bud Crawford, right? Yet then you're going to talk about everybody else as if you really know, right? You never watch them fight. You don't fucking care about what they do. So in a sense, when you say you don't know who they're fighting, it's because you don't follow the sport of boxing. You're ignorant. So why should anyone believe your opinion, right? Mexican boxing fan, he's also fucking racially motivated, like you, John. But at least he fucking has a great understanding of boxing overall. He pulled out some things that I'm pleasantly surprised of, even though I think he talks out his ass a lot more than he should. But you got to appreciate when a guy says something that's truthful. Where are we? Spence really is the reason you have Bud over Canelo? No, it's not just based on that. But obviously, Canelo lost to Bivol. Crawford destroyed Errol Spence. And then moved up to his next weight division, beat an undefeated fighter that I respect in Madrimov. And I know you respect him, so don't lie. Bud barely beat Madrimov for real, Sean. This is why you lose the debate. But Canelo didn't beat Bivol. He got fucking smoked 8-4, if I'm being generous. 8-4, barely beating and getting beat 8-4. I mean, it's a little different. How can a boxing fan but don't watch all divisions then go claiming the lighter weight fighters don't watch hasn't beaten anyone? I know, that's just crazy. Canelo would never struggle versus a smaller man. Bud struggled versus a smaller man. Who's the smaller man? Madrimov? He ain't smaller. Get real. Canelo only lost for pound fighters, the best defensive fighters. I'm going to have to put you in the same group as John Boxing, ignorant fan that doesn't watch boxing, if you think Madrimov is smaller and somehow you're trying to demean him. Yeah, so what Bivol, a way better fighter than Spence, has no defense. Oh my God. Yeah, bigger man, 5'7" is what the judges said. Don't matter what you say. Ah, come on. He was smaller. Who was smaller? Madrimov. You watched the fight, right? Madrimov looked like a whole weight division bigger than Bud Crawford. He is a dude, longer reach and height. He had longer reach. Height, come on. They're about the same fucking height. And Madrimov's shoulders are like fucking this fucking wide. The dude's back is thick. He's a natural 154-pound fighter who could easily fight at 160 right now. Easily. He could move up and fight Canelo, and he would not look smaller than Canelo Alvarez. But you, get over your fanboyism. You sound far more like John than I do, because your fucking blindness to only support Mexican fighters and then hate on everyone that's not Mexican. Bud struggled versus that dude. Canelo would never struggle versus a smaller guy in height and reach. Oh, what are you talking about? Wait, you're saying Bud's resume is better than Canelo's? I don't think anyone said that. Wait, see, dude, stop smoking Canelo's pole. I'm a Canelo fan, but see, the same reason why it's hard for me to support some Black Americans is the same reason right now you're making it hard for me to support Canelo, because I can literally smell his dick on your breath, and it's disgusting. So stop, please. Come on, man. Nobody wants to smell that. Let's move on. Okay. So here we go. Speaking of reigning champions, here we go. We give some hype to Canelo Alvarez and Better BF. So the longest reigning champions in boxing history. Ironically enough, Ken Shiro's not on this list, even though, he did have a very long run. Usyk, Navarrete, Canelo, Crawford, and better BF. See, why we need to disrespect and hate on people when these numbers tell you everything you need to know? The fighters, most of them who we're giving pound for pound greatness, are right here. Better BF, Crawford, Canelo, and Usyk. And how is this proven? Because of their dominance in their weight division. The fact that they've dominated the division for such a long period of time. And unlike Tank Davis, they've literally fought unification fights against other world champions in their division. All of them. Better BF, Crawford, Canelo, and Usyk all did that. So no one's trying to hate on any of those fighters, at least not me. If you guys want to push narratives, do it in the comment section. Leave me out of it. Because, you know, when somebody fucking spews this nonsense, it just makes it very difficult to appreciate where you're coming from. Because it just sounds like a lot of bullshit. But here's a real question. Who is the greatest lightweight of all time? So there's your guesses right there. Obviously, Sweet Pea Purnell, Ike Williams, Roberto Duran. Who else is there? I can't even see. Joe Gans, Julio Cesar Chavez, and who's that one in the middle? Oh, Floyd Mayweather. So we know with John, obviously Floyd Mayweather is number one, even though he doesn't know who Joe Gans is or Ike Williams. And he doesn't have Chavez or Duran on that list very high because obviously neither of them are black. So Purnell would probably be number two, Floyd number one. Then he'd put either Ike Williams or Joe Gans. And obviously Chavez or Duran would be low on that list. Mexican boxer obviously has Julio Cesar Chavez number one, right? And Duran at number two. But for any non-biased people, who do you have number one in your list for all-time best lightweights of all time? Machado, this is a debate of the year. See, that's why no one takes you serious. Castillo got beat by fucking Floyd Mayweather clearly in the rematch. And he's not even one of the six people on this list. He doesn't have a legacy that measures up with any one of the six people I just measured at lightweight. Damn, y'all don't like the brothers on this channel. What are you talking about? We don't like the brothers. Literally, you jumped on for 1 second. We were just defending Bud Crawford and literally defending who else? I forget earlier on the channel. And literally just asking who the best lightweight of all time is. And your response is, damn, y'all don't like the brothers. So who do you have as the best lightweight of all time? Obviously, you're young and ignorant. So Floyd Mayweather. Okay. So Chip Bud has Floyd Mayweather, the number one lightweight of all time. Enough said. Okay. Let's move on to some more educated boxing people. MB more knowledgeable than JB by a long shot. That's true. But still, just as ignorant. Nah, he has great respect, Castillo. Oh my God. Lightweight of all time, Duran, Ike Williams, Tony Canzanieri, and Benny Leonard. Look at you pulling out the historian response. What about Floyd? He not on your list, Drunk Irishman? Or Julio Cesar Chavez? Hints why I put question mark after my statement. Asshole. No, but your statement makes you an asshole. That's the first statement you made jumping on the channel. Because obviously I'm Caucasian, so that's the first response out of your mouth. Why not answer the question that I just asked? Who is the greatest lightweight of all fucking time? This is a boxing question. You can make it racial if you want to, but it not necessarily has to be racial because we have people from both ethnicities, non-black and black on the list. Duran and Purnell, Duran and Sweet Pea. Okay, no Floyd? Maybe I respect you more and more all the time. See, you make boxing comments and all I can do is have more esteem for your boxing knowledge. Interesting enough, when you look at the best boxers, you're the one that made the first assumption with your first statement. So maybe retract that stupid statement there. Durant said, no mas, dude, like Robsy Ramirez. That's true at 147 pounds, which has nothing to do with 135 pounds. Floyd is the best at 130. The best at 130, yet who did he beat at 130 to be the best? I would put Lomachenko above Floyd at 130. Not that Lomachenko would beat Floyd at 130, but based on what they did at the weight class, who they fought, and resume, and their dominance. That's the thing about fighters that jump through multiple weight divisions. When you look at Roy Jones and you try to put him in one weight class to see where he should be ranked, what was his best weight class? I think middleweight, but that's not the weight class that he's listed on all-time greats. Anybody that says MAs can't be the best at 135, what's MAs? Can't see him the same. Who did Loma fight at 130, genius? I know exactly who he fought. I know. And you're going to say Floyd fought who? Two fighters that had a lot of hype behind them, but what did they do in their career besides have wars amongst themselves? The best at 130 of all time is Emmanuel Navarrete. Get fucked. Come on, man. Even you don't believe that shit. Stop the fucking crack. Let's see, 130. What does BoxRec say? Because we know BoxRec is the consummate. Holy crap. No. BoxRec has all the facts. Not bad. I would not be against their list. They have Alexis Arguello, number 1. Flash Filipino Elarde, number 2. Azuma Nelson, who I got lots of respect for at number 3. Navarrete at 4. I don't think he should be so high. Lockridge probably shouldn't be so high. Chacon shouldn't be so high. Cruz shouldn't even be on this list. He had one fight where he won at 130 pounds. It's so funny when you look at BoxRec's list, but it's all modern boxers, right? You got to scroll down to find any historical fighters. But yeah, Alexis Arguello, I think I could agree with that. Arguello, Nelson, told you. What do you mean, told me? I know my boxing, Sean. I should take over your channel. Arguello is not Mexican, and Azuma Nelson is not Mexican either. Navarrete going to unify and get big wins at 130 and become the best. Watch. I don't think anyone in this comment section thinks that Emmanuel Navarrete is going to end up being considered the number 1 130-pound fighter of all time. The same way that Chip Budd has Floyd Mayweather the best at 130, yet Floyd spent most of his career in other divisions. That's why he's not even listed right there. Floyd will be listed at 147. Right? Let's go. BoxRec welterweight. Floyd will be top 5 in this division. Number 3. Jimmy McLaren, Canadian. Hammer and Hank Armstrong, Floyd Mayweather, Young Colbert III, Jackie Fields, Barney Ross, Manny Pacquiao, Jose Napoles, Sugar Ray Leonard. Leonard probably should be a little higher. Kid Gavilan, Oscar De La Hoya. Right? That's a much more interesting list than 130, that's for sure. At least more historical names. You know who he beat. Do I need to fucking list it? Who did Floyd beat? See, because no matter who I tell you that Lomachenko beat, you're going to discredit them and downplay them. And you're going to hype up the people Floyd Mayweather beat. One of whom had already got knocked out by Oscar De La Hoya, right? Another one that, how many losses and knockout losses did he suffer in his career? The other one, same. So you have 3 fighters who you're going to like push above Lomachenko's competition. But yet, one retired after Floyd, meaning that what? He was basically going to retire anyway. he wasn't at the best point of his career, even though he did come off of a great win versus Azuma Nelson. And then, of course, two fighters that were good fighters, but neither legends, neither pound for pound greats. Even though I admit Floyd was far more entertaining at 130 pounds than he was later on in his career. But he was no Loma. Who's the best Canadian boxer? No, definitely not Lucas Batty. You mean all time? Come on. You know who the best Canadian boxer of all time is. You seem to know a lot about boxing. So who's the best Canadian boxer of all time? I know Drunk Irishman knows who it is. But do you? There you go, Drunk Irishman, exactly. Sam Langford. Sam Langford, who was called what? The Boston Tar Baby. I don't know if I can use that name in 2024. That's definitely a racially charged name, and he's Canadian, not from Boston, which makes the comment even more stupid. And then you'd have to put Lennox Lewis right up there as well. Lennox Lewis, a very high level, top ranked heavyweight of all time. You should know you're Canadian. I do know. My question was, do you know? Better BF. Yes, better BF. Yeah, he's about as Canadian as you are. That's what I thought. Loma doesn't have a better win at 130. What do you mean? My point is, it doesn't matter who I say. You're not going to agree. You're going to downplay them and dismiss them. So it's an opinion. My opinion differs from yours. Wrong, both of you. Better BF is undisputed. The Boston Bone Crusher sounds better. It does sound better, but Bone Crusher Smith stole that name decades later. He represented England. He's a traitor. He won a Canadian gold medal for Canada in the Olympics. So he's Canadian. He was born and raised, not born, he was born in Jamaica, raised in Kitchener, fucking Ontario. Lennox Lewis, weird. He's more popular like Mike Tyson. He's not more popular. Why would he be as popular as Mike Tyson? He's not an American, right? Tyson was popular in America because he's American. Lennox Lewis, as you just stated, is kind of a traitor. Jamaican, Canadian, English. He never really had too much ties. He was Canadian, then he was English, wherever he got more money, and then he ended up spending the most of his career in the US as far as sparring and boxing, right? Never fought that many times in the UK. He destroyed Mike Tyson, but that was a shell of Mike Tyson. After he got out of jail, he wasn't close to being the same fighter. He was just in it for the bag. He wasn't motivated anymore. His mentality had been broken. So that's why anyone talks about Tyson after prison. It's like, man, don't even talk about that Mike Tyson, because it's not fucking even the same. So what, they're the same age, no excuses. Oh my God. Dude, you're mental. That's all I can say. Mental. But let's move forward. You do understand that age is not the precursor across the board on everything. Literally, Mike Tyson spent how long in jail? You come out of jail, you get back into boxing specifically because why? Because you know you can get money for it. Promoters are all over you. They want to use you to market you. You can make millions of dollars. You do it, but your heart's no longer in it. Now you're become a Muslim. You fucking not the same person you once were. The system broke you. That's what happened to Mike. The system broke him. Langford, lightweight, heavyweight, the most avoided fighter in his era. Please don't compare Better BF to Langford. But it's because he doesn't know who Langford is. You're saying a shell of himself because he's old, right? So what, Lennox? No, you didn't listen. Nobody said a shell of himself because he's old. Same age as fucking Evander Holyfield when he fought Evander too, who also fucking had a tough heavyweight run against Riddick Bowe and other people. He was a shell of himself because the system fucking broke him. Evander still loved boxing, was still in it to win it. Mike Tyson wasn't. His will was gone. He was like Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. sitting in front of his pool in his underwear, eating fucking Captain Crunch, right? Could care fucking less. Just waiting to cash the check. Uh, Excuses. He still wanted the check and fought. Stop it. Never mind. Talking to you is like talking to a child. Better be if he's Canadian. Go tell him that he isn't. He will tell you he's Russian. He's Russian. He represented Russia in the Olympics. He moved to Canada because for his professional career, this was the best scenario for him. Chavez Jr. could have been great. That's why Mexicans are mad at him. I don't think he ever could have been great, but he definitely is a waste of fucking space. That's for sure. But don't worry, he's going to fight Jake Paul on a huge pay-per-view. So he's still relevant. He still get money to make, right? So, we should be excited about that nonetheless. But let's all tune into John Boxing later. I'm sure he's going to have some great takes, of course, because he obviously needs to use us to find content for his channel. So we can go watch his channel afterwards and see where he disagreed with us. He couldn't just have a civil conversation here and talk boxing, but he's definitely probably going to go make videos as a response. He did almost beat Sergio, and that would have been a fucking phenomenal victory in the 12th round, getting the knockout win to become a middleweight champion. Wow. But he didn't. Why? Because he just wasn't fucking hungry, because he grew up with money. He was lazy, and that's just the way it was. Make up. We're okay. Don't worry. But thanks everyone for jumping in. I'm going to feed my dog. Obviously, it was a late start to the day. Has anyone had their gallbladder removed? My gallbladder needs to be taken out, or I need to fucking eat something that doesn't aggravate it. But last night, I had to take some serious hard medicine, so I woke up totally fucking high like a motherfucker. So I will see you later. Obviously, we got some good boxing this weekend. Tomorrow, Alexis Rocha, right? And who else? What the fuck? Why what the fuck? It's prescribed medicine. Don't worry. But it's opioids. So, for people who don't use opioids, when you take 100 milligrams of it, the shit sticks with you. Raul is a good one. No, I'm looking forward to seeing Raul Curiel beat, smash down Rocha to become a player in the 147-pound division. Natural remedies are the way to go. Are you speaking from facts, something you've done, or are you just throwing out a precursor statement that generalizes? Opioids are a natural remedy. Opium is a plant, right? So Raul and Rocha, great fight, top 10 welterweight clash. It is. It's amazing, though, that fight's getting no fucking play at all. Like, I don't think I've seen any YouTube channel even talking about Curiel Rocha. None. Zero. Like, let's do a test. Rocha versus Curiel. DAZN, of course, is talking about it. The weigh-in just happened. But as far as boxing channels, Golden Boy talked about it. DAZN talked about it. Only this person, Golden Boy, Top Rank, Fight hype. No, not talking. Yeah, nobody. No YouTube channel has a video that pops up when you type in Rocha versus Curiel. None. Uh, take it however you want. Well, I'm just saying, if you know something specific, then you should tell me specifically what natural remedy that you used and I should use. That's all I'm asking. Zerto over Tank. Well, that's a debate, Irishman, you have to have with John Boxing. Uh, it's Mexican, not black channels. All black channels have Rocha winning so he can face Boots. Really? Apparently, no channels are talking about it. Boy, they are surprised and sorry to the Duck Boots versus Raul. Telling you, Sean, they hate Mexican boxing. That's true. You know who especially hates Mexican boxing? Bruce Vane. Bruce Vane hates Mexicans and hates Mexican boxing. That's why I promote it. Well, dude, tone it down a bit. You're starting to sound like the LDBC. It's a little too much. But thanks everyone for jumping in. Remember to hit the like on the way out the door. Peace out, and I will see you maybe tomorrow live. We will see.